flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes from the regular meeting on August the 2nd, 2022?
Mayor, I also move.
Second.
Okay. Mr. Nettles? Ms. Backus? Mr. Gardner? Mr. Seegers? Aye. Very good. Motion's carried. Thank you. Do I have a motion for approval of minutes from the special meeting on August the 17th, 2022?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes for our special meeting on August 17th, 2022.
Second motion.
Mr. Nettles? Ms. Backus? Gardner? Mr. Seegers? Aye. Very good. Motion's carried. Thank you. Do I have approval of the meeting for the agenda for tonight, September 6th, 2022?
I make a motion that we approve the meeting agenda of Tuesday, September 6th, 2022.
Mr. Miller? Ms. Backus? Mr. Gardner? Mr. Seeger? Aye. Very good. Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay. Report of community events. The Darlington Downtown Revitalization Association is invited.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. The DDRA continues the Bringing Downtown Alive free summer concert series, Saturdays on the Square, presented by the City of Darlington. This Saturday with chart-topping songwriter John King from 7 to 10 p.m. on the public square. Enjoy live music, classic cars, food trucks, and vendors. The featured musician has had a steady climb toward the top of the country music mainstream. He's become a #1 songwriter, penning Randy Houser's chart-topping We Went, which earned him a 2016 ASCAP Songwriter Award, and writing Hootie and the Blowfish's Rollin', the band's first song to be released since 2005. He's become a road warrior too, playing an average of 150 shows annually while building his audience one gig at a time. Most importantly, King has begun telling his own story through music, launching his solo career with Tonight Tonight, a top 40 hit whose anthemic chorus was heard everywhere from country radio to the weekly NFL recaps on CBS, and releasing his first full-length album with 2021's Always Gonna Be You. He says, country music is really exciting right now because artists are blurring the lines. You don't have to fit into one category. When I step back and listen to these songs, I hear southern rock, country, and pop. I hear me. I don't know what else to call it. It's just me. A variety of food trucks and other vendors will have food, drinks, and goods available for purchase, including Carolina Donut Diva, Dave's Barnyard Barbecue, Diggy Dogs, George's Funnel Cakes, SC House of Wings, and Woos and Keems from Chiraw that offers collard green egg rolls. Those are good, just so you know. The Darlington Cruisers and any other car aficionados are welcome to display their rides along Cashua Street. There aren't any trophies, but it's a great way to interact with the community and show off your prized possession. Other sponsors include Fiber Industries, Wilson Senior Care, Belk Funeral Home, and Pepsi of Florence. And Saturday's concert will be the last one until New Year's Eve. Thank you to the community and to you, City Council, for supporting our efforts.
You said, what time do the festivities start?
It's 7 to 10.
7?
Ms. Petty. Okay, the Greater Darlington Chamber of Commerce. Mrs. Sylvester.
Hello, so I'm just going to go straight on to the newsletter that you all should have. So August 12th, we did host a ribbon cutting for our new chamber member, Rush Fit Nutrition. They are located at 413 Pearl Street, which is right near where People River is. They specialize in protein drinks, energy teas, things of that nature, and every Monday they have some upcoming events this month at the Greenville Post Office. They will have yoga with Parker Al, September 10th. That will be a more regular thing every month. And then also this month they will be having a Buddy Johnson tribute band September 24th. It will start at 6 p.m. Down by the Creek Boutique, which is a children's boutique, will be opening up October 1st. They will be located at 48 Public Square. And the ribbon cutting will start at 10. Our next business after hours will be September 29th. At Meeting Treasures, they are located at 119 East Broad Street, and it will be from 5:30 to 7. There's a new business in town, Darlington Mercantile. They will be located at 46 Public Square. The grand opening will be September 15th. We have not discussed the time yet. It'll be 9 or 10. Whenever I get finalized time, I'll be sure to pass that information along to you. But starting September 16th, from then on out, they will open up at 6:30 a.m. every day. They will be having coffee, light food, gift shop type of items and things of that nature. That is all that I have. Do you all have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, citizens wishing to appear, we normally give 5 minutes. We ask for a 30-minute total, so we don't take up all the time. I've got, I think 9 people on here, so if you'll keep it around 3 minutes, 4 minutes, I would greatly appreciate it. Again, if you'll give us your comments, and then we'll, any help afterwards, we'll be glad to talk with you afterwards. Mrs. Rogers, Susan Rogers.
Hi, this will probably take my 5 minutes, and y'all know who I am, that's not why I'm here. First bill of discussion is the city water and sewer. I have county water and city sewer. I don't know how many citizens in the city have that predicament. But the county has no trouble reading the meter, or whether they use satellite or what they use. But I got a bill from the city, I use 0 water for 1 month. I only used 1,200 gallons the next month. Then you hit me up for almost 21,000 gallons, which would have filled my camper up that y'all know I live in. All right, our subject in there is if we're gonna charge people these fees and this 3% increase and get an honest system of reading meters. I'm on a set income. I have everything drafted out of one account. I don't worry about it, but most people do. And when you get a $178 sewage bill drafted out of your checking account where you knew you were going to have $35 for your medicine this month, that makes a difference.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm not denying that I didn't use the 20,000 gallons of water in a 60-day period, but I didn't use it in 24 days. And so that is my subject there, that I just asked y'all to find some way, to find someone to read these meters accurately. They say they're not read on the same day. I understand that, but why can't they be? Just go off of the county's report. It's accurate. It's never wrong. I used 80 gallons from one day to the next by the reading that y'all read and the county's system read. That's an average. I don't deny it. I'm going to water my flowers. I'm going to do what I have to do. I'm going to use my water. But I want an accurate monthly statement. And I took it to the water department this morning, so somebody will hear about it. Second subject. Y'all have an agreement with some company to lease these apartments on the square. From what I was told, that was set up when the apartments were refurbished. But you have an agreement to pick up the trash per apartment. Why doesn't the company you're leasing to have to supply some form of trash retainers for these people? I'm not going to tell you every color intimate project there is in the parking lot house in the back. But between the homeless and the people buying furniture, leaving furniture, piling it all in the parking lot when they move out, that's, the city streets might look good, but take a back road and see what the parking lot, we advertise it's a public parking lot. We send our customers back there to look at it just for that purpose. You need to go check it out. And it doesn't just stop at the parking lot and think, well, that's part of the church's parking lot. That doesn't relieve the responsibility. If the city's going to collect trash and sanitation from these apartments, then that needs to be kept up. And it's, like I said, you're even charging, now we keep our bins in a separate container. But the jewelry store, Fahrenheit, the NES, I don't know what's called. Department buildings use their hurdy-gurdies too. But they're paying you a business rate to have them. And yet these people that are renting are putting their personal supplies in. I know you can't judge it, can't put a camera on it, but it is a problem, and I've already had, Alex meet me there one day. I don't even remember who else met me there. This was months ago. It's still the same. We have homeless sleeping in the wooden bins while people are living in the apartment. Pam, she hit one the other day. She thought it was a dead body. It moved. So the city's got to do something about this back street problems we have, because we have to go through it. There's a park back there. That's what I asked for.
Thank you. All right, Patel?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Patel. I got my property 120 South Main Street. I got a water bill high from October 2019. I've been in the water department too many times, and they say my meter is faulty. They show me in 23 hours 2550 gallons, and next time they show me 19 hours 2750 gallons. And I request them change my water meter bill, and they change in December after a long time. And after December I got average my use per month 3,000 to 4,000 gallons. So they're coming good after January. And now last 2 months they charge me a storm fee $100 per month. So
That's being corrected. That's being corrected.
That's correct.
That's being corrected, yes, sir, this month.
It's wrong.
Last 2 months, and I go in water department. I ask them. They say you got property more than 1 acre big. That's why they going up. And they say they give me refund. My meter guy coming sometime. He check it out, and they got lot of dust and sand inside. So he says that's not real good from satellite. And I go too many times, but I don't get nothing here from water department.
Where's your property at?
120 South Main Street,
20?
120. And I give to them all copy for my all water bill and everything. What month they got high and everything. I print it and I give to them, but no reply from them.
We'll contact you tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thank you. Mrs. Harkless?
Ready?
How y'all doing? My name is Nova Hopkins, and I'm from speaking on the property, my mother's property at 308 Washington Street. It's located in front of the all mill. Now, this fence from the cement place is growing over in my mother's yard, and it looks like a forest. Now, she can't look down the street, because when she come out, the grass is all over the fence. Now, that's not our grass, that's going over there. So the cement place, the people need to come cut that down. I'm fighting for this for a long time. I'm not fighting for the land, I'm fighting for the grass to be cut. It don't make no sense.
You live in somewhere?
When you come down, my mom's property's on the right-hand side, and that cement place is a fence there, but you can't see the fence because the grass is all over it. But that belongs to the cement place, and it's the city. And they need to cut that grass down. My mama can't come out the yard. She come out the yard, well, she can't see nothing when she look down the street. And it don't make no sense. And frankly, I'm having time to speak, talking about it. And it just, I'm not gonna talk any longer, because you know where it's located at, and that's it. I hope you can get it cut.
Thank you, Ms. Harkless.
Oh, you're welcome.
Ernestine Lyde?
Good afternoon, I'm Ernestine Lyde from 108 Flint Circle. My problem is still the water bill. Every month, the water bill is increasing. The value and everything is going up. The storm fee went up to another $3.50 from now it's $10. Now my garbage went up to $35. It doesn't make any sense. The I check with my water, but everything is going up higher and higher every month. When there was 4 people living in my house, before the pandemic, my water bills were less than this, and I was using around the same amount. But here it is now, in 2022, ever since we went up on the water bill, and you keep going up on this water bill, and I don't understand it. My problem is that if you can give somebody a $30,000 raise, and then you're gonna keep going up on the water bill, if we got that kind of money to give somebody that kind of raise, why can't we take that money and put it towards the water bill? Because senior citizens, my mother's a senior citizen, her water bill, one person, she's 88 years old, her water bill is close to mine, $100? Are you kidding me? Something's not right with this. I don't care how you look at it. I come up here every month, it's the same thing, the water bill. It keeps going up. It's just like, what happened? You guys don't care about something? Come on now. It can't be that much more about what's going on than what's going on with the citizens. We're still here. We're citizens. We matter. We count. This isn't right. Something has to be done about that. Because if you can give that much money away, I'm quite sure that we don't have to pay these high water bills like this over and over again.
Thank you.
Ms. Latham?
Just a minute, Mayor, I'll let you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, Ms. Pritchett, Mr. Payne. My concerns are threefold this evening with my comments. First, I support the council's approval of the second reading of ordinance 2022-09 for the rezoning request of 203 Orange Street. The board of directors of this center are requesting their ability to best utilize their property to ensure the center continues to be thriving as an institution. Specifically, to have the ability to bring online a pediatric speech development program or other such related businesses on their property and within existing facilities they own. I use the word institution very deliberately because under the leadership of former Darlington County Councilwoman Wilhelmina Johnson, this center has provided programs for several decades that has greatly enriched our city and the lives of our residents, many of whom are here this evening. In my assessment, this request meets the requirement of the city's zoning for residential commercial. I took a few minutes this afternoon and drove down Orange Street between Main and Earl Streets. And here's what I found. I found there is an existing mixed use of residential commercial businesses. On this same street, on Orange Street, in addition to residential, there's a commercial investment business, there's an AT&T commercial business, there's a large commercial hotel, there's a large commercial bank, and there's Rose's.
a very large commercial business whose property also aligns on Orange Street. Therefore, it should be very clear that the center's request to utilize their small space for the noted commercial business is within the approved zoning residential commercial. So I thank you for your support and approval of this request. Secondly, has this council read the most recent police report filed against the city manager? If so, what actions are being taken? If not, why not? I am requesting a written response to these questions, as well as what actions the city council has taken to investigate the alleged involvement of the city manager in the early release from jail of his friend. Thank you for that. Lastly, this council, with the exception of Councilwoman Sheila Backus and Councilman Howard Nesbitt, voted to increase the water bill of the citizens of Darlington again. There was no public hearing on raising these water bills again. Instead, there was an agenda item that read public hearing on a council meeting agenda. An agenda item does not constitute a public hearing. There was no agenda provided for the public hearing. There was no sign-in sheet, Mayor, for residents to sign up to speak and to express their concerns about this potential increase. We were not informed of existing water rates or the proposed new rates. Mayor, I am requesting that you and council please take a look into this. And I'm also requesting that you have the city manager to put the new rates on our water bill, because they are not. They're not on there like all of our other utility bills. And I think they should be. In fact, I think this is a legal requirement. We were told that only residents who use 5,000 gallons per month would see this increase, and that this would only be 20% of the residents of Darlington. Where did this 5,000 gallon threshold come from? Did any of you question this? Can someone defer a minute for me, please?
I'll defer a minute.
Thank you. Where did this 5,000 threshold come from? Did any of you ask this question? Were you presented with any data that showed that only 20% of our residents would be affected? I think not, because this fake public hearing lasted less than a minute. Because there was no opportunity for this information to be presented to council or to be presented to you, Mayor. There was no opportunity for the citizens to ask any questions. Did you know the average American family uses 30 gallons of water per day at their home? The average family size for the nation, for the state of South Carolina, for the city of Darlington is 2.5. So let's do the math. That equals 9,000 gallons per month. So where did this 5,000 gallon threshold come from? Here's a water bill of a one person, single person household that's over 5,000 gallons in the last month. In fact, it's 5,779 gallons. Since this, almost everybody can do a mathematical assessment and realize more than 20% of the residents in the city of Darlington are being assessed at a higher rate for using more than 5,000 gallons per month. Councilwoman Backus has been requesting of our city manager for months now that he tell us whether our water department is making or losing money. And he's refused to give this answer. In fact, he exasperates everything by saying he can't come up with an answer until we get our annual audit. This is simple math. a 5-year-old, all you have to do is take the amount of money that we're paying, that you got coming in, and subtract out how much expenditures you have. Then we'll know whether we're making or losing money in the water department. Mayor, I know you say you want to be transparent, but did you guys know you approved a 30,000, one-time 30,000 increase for the Director of Public Works? Did y'all know y'all approved that?
I'm kind of curious how you have that information.
It's called under the Freedom of Information Act, and you know why? We're gonna continue to ask under the Freedom of Information Act, because this councilwoman who represents me in my ward, when I ask her questions that she don't know, she comes to the city manager and he refuses to answer her. So that's how we got the information. And in fact, Mayor, that information should be published on our website like it is in most municipalities, because this is public funds.
Is it? It is or it isn't?
Go to many municipalities in
Oh, I
this
understand
state.
that. I thought you said it was published though.
It's not, but it should be,
Oh.
because other municipalities, councilman, publishes this information. This is our money. We
I'm
have a right to
curious.
know where it's being spent. I hope I'm aligned time since you so I
You're at 8
can.
minutes right now, but
Well, I'm trying to
We got
answer
10
your
minutes
question.
left in public.
I'm trying to answer your questions.
it's not really a question. It's
And
just
I
a
don't think
statement
you
that.
should take this time away from us, because I'm responding to a councilman's question.
Well, I'm
And
not-
I'll be happy to continue if you want, Mayor.
He's trying to answer your question, then we'll go ahead and move to the next person.
Do you have another question for me, Councilman?
I don't. Chief Washington, could you come
So-
in here, sir?
So,
No,
another,
I'm sorry, ma'am. Chief Washington, could you please come in here, sir?
That's the mayor's decision, sir.
Well, I need to ask a question out of you that you can
Sure.
answer, and that's not trying to.
Oh, I understand.
We had a situation that she had referenced earlier about our city manager. It had came up in a previous meeting. It's my understanding that he recused himself from the situation and that you were actually in charge of that situation. Is that true?
Which situation are you referring?
Would you want to clarify the situation?
no, because I think this is the inappropriate forum.
It's
And
not,
I
ma'am.
think it
Because
will
y'all.
lead to civil
My-
discourse.
So here's the
I
problem.
think I have asked for a written response, if you want to take this in executive council.
No, ma'am.
Because
I don't.
I just don't think this
That's
is,
good.
What
but
I
it's
have.
your call,
That's good.
Mayor.
Hold on, listen.
It's your
Chief-
call, Mayor. I'll
Chief
answer the
Washington,
question.
Chief Washington, the question is with the incident that involved the arrest where his name was brought up and all that, did he recuse himself from that? Can you clarify on what?
Because this involves, because this involves personnel, it's more appropriate for this to be handled in executive session. This should not be handled out in the public. It should be handled in executive session.
The only thing we're asking is there's been a couple accusations that our city manager has acted in an inappropriate manner. And this very simple question is, we don't need anything else about the situation besides did he recuse himself or not?
And again, I'm gonna repeat myself, that is something that needs to be handled in executive session, because it deals with personnel,
So I would-
that responds
That's
to
fine.
you all, and you're asking me in public about something to do with my boss, and
So
that's.
I'll answer the question for the public. Whenever the situation happened, our city manager recused himself from the situation. Our chief took over that situation, and the city manager has had nothing to do with it.
Okay.
To say anything else is
You
slanderous.
talking about something, you don't even know what you're talking about. Let's get it straight.
What
You
I
wasn't
would
even
like,
there, so you don't know what happened.
I surely wasn't, but I
So
was.
you don't know, so you can't say that.
we are
You
all,
wasn't there.
Quiet, alike.
You can't say that.
That's good.
Mayor.
Thank you for
The last thing,
wait a minute, that's what I was
Mayor,
saying, that we are disrespecting Ms. Latham. She didn't finish, she had not finished. Please
I
let
have one
her
more
finish.
statement to make.
Let her finish.
On my bill, we'll bill 3 times for capital. There's a capital on our water bill, then there's a second capital for street capital. And for those of us who have sprinkler systems, we get billed a 3rd time for capital. Can you, at the next meeting, let us know why we're being billed 3 times?
We'll
And
detail it out for you. Yes, ma'am.
okay. Thank you so much, Mayor, and I hope you will follow through with the requests that were made this evening. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. The reason I'm here, it's been a while, is number one, our street and road repairs again on Oak Street. The repair that the new construction made out there on the road was excellent. The one that we did, where they cut the road across, once again, has started to crumble. And it's hazardous to the vehicles. And if you take a look at it, you can tell that the work that was done was extremely poor. North Street at 52, where we've got all that construction work there. That bump, if you're coming down North Street towards Main, if someone hits that hard with their vehicle, they're going to get hurt. They're going to do damage to their vehicles. Or somebody riding a bike or a motorcycle could get seriously injured. And the other road repairs there are horrible. If you go through this town, we've got streets that are in dire need of repair. But yet, we can spend tons of money on new trees and everything for the city square. And I'm all for making the city look good. You do. You go way and beyond, because I've seen you out there working on the streets, cleaning it up and things like that. That's great, but that's not addressing the problems of our streets and our roads. Our sidewalks. One of my neighbors tripped on a sidewalk on Spring Street and tore her rotator. We don't do anything to repair those, but we can give money to different organizations that want to do things out here, but we don't take money to repair the sidewalks or the roads. And I know that I'm going to hear that, well, some of the roads belong to DOT, some of them belong to county, and quite honestly, I don't care. You represent the people of this city. It is your responsibility to make sure that these roads and these sidewalks are safe for the public. So if that means that you have to sue the county or sue DOT, whatever you have to do, you do it. Otherwise, someone's going to get seriously hurt one of these days, and this city's going to pay for it. Now, the other concern I have, and I've missed quite a few meetings, but at the last meeting, the Mayor Pro Tem got up and spoke about civility. I'm all for civility, and talking about civility between the city council members. Well, I tell you what, I want to hear the city council meetings discussing things if they're concerned about it. I don't go for the name calling, but I sure want the city council meeting to be able to speak between themselves and express their concerns or say things to the people sitting out here so that we can understand what's going on. This, and I want to remind everybody, this is our city council. You represent the citizens of Darlington. And that's exactly what you need to do, is represent the people that put you in the positions you're in right now. I belong in a ward that I've never received any notification whatsoever of any ward meetings, any concerns, and I couldn't even tell you who my ward member is up until tonight because someone told me. He's sitting in this room right now, and we've never heard from him. But remember, he told me, belongs to Miss Bacchus' ward. She notifies her members. She sends them emails, notices. And I've lived in my ward for 18 years, and I've never gotten a first piece of information. And I can guarantee you that at the next election, the ward member that represents me will not get my vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
Okay. On behalf of the local branch of NAACP, I am not the president, but I was called to speak. About this, Mr. Charles Sugar, I give one a few minutes. Give one. Okay.
Who have mine?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Sorry.
You were new.
Need one more, how many I need?
Wait, let me have a couple more. Not enough. We're not,
I got,
we're not, Mr. Mayor.
Mrs. Hines, we're not, as they just said a while ago, we're not supposed to discuss personnel issues.
oh Lord, I get up here and you drop me. I got me every time, y'all. Every time I get
We're
in
just told
trouble.
that we weren't supposed to discuss personnel issues unless it's an executive session.
Okay, well, this got the 30% raise.
Is
Now,
this personnel, is this budget?
This budget,
What
this
I
about the
mean-
budget, it was in the budget
He's
meeting.
talking about the budget.
You're pulling the person's name up, so we need to discuss this in executive session. Okay?
When do we make that so I can talk? When do we have executive session so I can be here?
Executive session will have to be there before council.
Huh? That's South Street tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
30% raise, what, 2%?
Catherine? We got two more, if y'all can make it real quick.
Her name is Katrina.
Hand.
Good evening, Mayor Board, council members. I'm here to address my street, which is Jefferson Street, Fillmore Street, Washington, and West Broad from my end. And I'm gonna start with you, Lane, and let you take a look, and you can just pass it on.
Broad Street.
Yes. The streets, I think they came last week and cut the things down. I don't know who this property belongs to, but it's steady going up higher. Now, when I saw this the other day, that really got me. They don't have enough manpower, they can't get nobody to do it. Clean it up. Why don't we do it? Why should we do it? They have people at the detention center, they're not doing anything, why not pull them out and let them clean? There's always some excuse about it. And when I saw this was very upsetting to me. Did you cut it off again?
No, I see it. Yeah, I see it.
Because something just, I don't understand it.
What street is that?
I think it's West Broad,
It's
on my end.
once you cross, once you cross Tallulah, between Tallulah and Jefferson, there's this spot that they've been dumping it, but this time it is horrendous.
And we pay taxes for that. I feel like something needs to be done, right away. It's terrible.
This also has Broad Street past Tallulah going to the highway department.
Right,
I didn't even go there.
yeah, and you know when you come to that little fork,
That's it.
just keep straight across to the right, and then there's one block. But that block has been, it's at abandoned houses on both
That's right
sides.
beside that great looking house.
Yeah, right beside the green house.
Where it's all grown up.
You come
Where
down
the
Jefferson
vines
Street.
was growing at.
Yeah, and all the lots on Jefferson Street, all the stuff is growing up on Washington Street. I mean, we living in a jungle over here on the west end.
Don't we have a city council person on that side?
That's me, and I will address it, because on Thursday, last Thursday, this city came and they cut the part that's growing up. That is the city's part. We cannot cut those things growing up on private property. Otherwise, I mean, I'd want them to cut mine. But but I don't know. But the city did come Friday, and on from the Washington Street to Milling Street, the part that that you were talking about, city came and cut back the city part, the easement there, not the easement, but the city part, because I spoke to them it was Wednesday, and on Thursday they came. I spoke to them, I made them aware on Wednesday. This trash that you're talking about, I walked my dog on there and it wasn't there, so it's been since that part. But each time, our area, that area is being used as a dumping. And yes, the city can't keep up with what the residents in those areas are doing. And it may not be our resident, it may be our folk coming along. Because if you go there in this afternoon, you're gonna see it. We try to do the best, but I have asked those in the area, please, we have to I've tried to organize cleanup days, I haven't gotten a response from any of those, but it is folk in the area that is doing this. And I call each time that I see it or I can do, and I promise you, they have responded very well to me, because that part that you're talking about, that you're saying growing up, they were there on last Thursday morning and cut that down.
So who's supposed to clean it up?
Well, the city when they can. I mean, they come in, but if they, I don't know how to tell you that if a group comes down this afternoon and we go down on the west end and it's all thrown up, and their scheduled time is to pick up on Thursday or pick up on Monday, that they can keep coming back every time that we have our residents littering up like that. And that's awful. I mean, they have the overgrown, I have gone to them individually, all out there with the trash can, with the animals all in it, in the same area. I'm having a time, but I stay there almost 20 every day. I go down, talk to somebody, pick this up, don't look like this, don't live like this. And in that block, it is, I can go down there maybe twice a month. You're gonna find somebody that done made a big dump. They come over there and dump it.
Okay, the people that own the property, okay, I'm on Jefferson Street. All these lots on my street are all grown up. You can't cite these people, you can't go on private property, but something gotta be done. You're supposed to get in touch with them, send them a paper, let them know give them 10 days notice or something. If they don't cut it themselves, you can't go on the property, but somebody has to cut it. Charge them.
And I promise you, Lisa, Sheila,
looking like that?
Sheila has given each one of those lots, they have sent those numbers, they sent the letters out, because of what you said before. I'm in it myself, right behind me, and they are doing all they can. They send the letters over and over, and all they can do, if they the way it is right behind where you're talking now, it is, we have an ordinance when it gets to be back to the natural state, that we don't do it. If we do it, we just go add on to the taxes. And this is what has been done. I do know that Sheila has sent numbers to each one of those people on there, because they used to drop the property now that's owned, that was the Harrison, that's owned by a Macedonia church. That was a constant dropping off of trash there and furniture and things of that sort. And you see that has stopped because we keep sending these letters. We keep sending them. She will do that because I come on a regular basis. She knows I'm in the office.
Well,
I don't know what else that we could do.
Contact me also, let me know when you see stuff like that.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
And truly, if you had told me, I had them pick it up. Me and Cisco would pick it up.
I was gonna talk about, look like everybody have already spoken about it. Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. Ernest Boston, 121 Allen Street. My frustration is 12 times a year, once a month, at the corner of Allen Street and Main Street, back behind the White House with the fence. Once a month,
Oh,
household trash garbage. People cleaning up houses and they're taking their trash and dumping their trash there. Last time I came out, I stopped and got mad. If I wish you could have came out there and caught the person doing it, because I rode behind them and called 911 and have officers to come and get them. I'd like to suggest to the city council, and I know it's not a whole lot of money, I'll sit down there, listen to the talk, conversation going on, that the council approved the city manager and the street department to buy deer cameras. Those are motion cameras. And put it on those areas where people are using as a dump site. I know there's a fine on, I think, $75 or $150 for someone illegally dumping in the city of Darlington. Looking at here, deer camera, $119. 2 fines to pay for a camera. We need to do something. I'm just getting frustrated, you know. Street clean, no trash on the street, but then when you come out and you see that, let's get frustrated, make them mad. And I want to keep our neighborhood looking good and listen to what everybody's saying about the city. People want to get a clean city, but we have the elements within our city that's not going to do right. We know that, we all know that. And so if they don't want to do right, then we need to put something in place so that we catch them doing wrong, that we find them and make them pick up the trash and clean up. Please consider that, look into that, get that, because just make me mad. I'm going back to the city. I think my neighbor behind me had a trailer backed up to the fence, took a mattress and threw it over in the back of my trailer. I turned around, went back in the house because I got mad because I knew I went over there, I'd probably been in trouble. Somebody asked, hey, can you go and run this trash out to the dump? 3 miles away.
What she talking about?
We need to just encourage our neighbors to do right.
Dump it off.
But I know there's going to be those that's not going to do. Thank you very much.
And as an overview real quick for everybody, we're trying hard. I know sometimes it may not look like it. I know sometimes people want to criticize me for being out there with weed eater, but at least I'm trying. They won't give me the key to the backhoe, they won't give me the key to the dump truck or the trash truck. They won't give me a police car or a ticket book. So limited on what I can or can't do, same with the rest of the council. But again, a lot of these issues we already are approaching and trying to fix. Why people want to trash our town and throw mattresses out, and we're in a predicament. You're not paying the city to pick up your mattress, your furniture. That's not a part of the trash sanitation. But then they still go out and they pick it up. When they really should be given a fine. It's just a back and forth to try to, should we clean it up, should we not clean it up, should we go get them, give them a fine. So we're trying to deal with all these issues. All the lots are grown up. If you ask Elaine and the rest of them over here, we fuss about it all the time. I want it all cleaned up, cut. Coach department gets tired, she's at the point not even answering my phone calls sometimes, so like I won't call somebody. Council's the same way, we want it cleaned up, we want it tidied up, we ask for your help. You see trash out, you see things like that, let us know. So we're trying hard, and we'll continue to try hard for you. And thank you for your comments. All right, sorry, and again, I apologize for having to try to cut you off, we went way longer than we anticipated, but try to give you the time. Again, you're welcome to call me anytime, 24/7, I'll be glad to sit down and have a coffee with your conversation. All right, unfinished business, public hearing, ordinance 2022-09, rezoning request 203 Orange Street. Public hearing now, if you would like to speak, if you will, just take turns and come up, and there's our time limit on that. I was here all night, but if you got something on that you'd like to walk up and speak about, just come on up, it's fine, you can have the sign for that. Just kind of keep it straight to the point.
Good evening, everyone, Mayor, City Council, family in the gallery. I'm Angela G. Johnson. I am a very proud board member of Darlington County Cultural Realism Complex. I am a proud citizen of Darlington. I grew up here. I'm living in Columbia now, but my mom and I are privileged to come back and check on our properties here every other weekend or so. The Darlington County Cultural Realism Complex has put forth this request, this is our second time, to rezone the parts of the property on Pearl Street campus that are zoned
and I'll go ahead and say it, I feel erroneously as residential, because the property has never been used in a residential capacity, not in modern day, not since DCCRC has acquired it. I am aware that there are concerns that the residents of the historic district have not only shared with their council members, but also in this venue last year. And the only thing I can say to that is that we have put forth the effort to talk one-on-one with them, as Councilman Milling recommended we do at the last meeting. We have had one-on-one Zoom sessions set up so that we could speak with them, and we even had an in-person opportunity where my sister and her 5-year-old went walking through, canvassing the neighborhood, giving them the flyers so that we could set aside an hour when we were going to be there so that we could talk one-on-one. As Mr. Seeger said, civil conversation. We had one resident take advantage of that. I want to thank the city council members for availing yourself to me and my fellow board members. We had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Nettles, Ms. Backus, Mr. Gardner, and Ms. Reed, and I had an opportunity to speak one-on-one with Mayor Boyd. I believe my sister had an opportunity to speak with Councilman Milling. And we thank you for giving us an opportunity to completely communicate to you our goal for keeping CRC alive and progressive within the community. And then also for sharing with us your concerns and your support for your constituents. And to that I want to just say, I think there's a constituent you're forgetting about. CRC. CRC is a constituent. Okay? CRC is a 50-year constituent.
All right now.
January 1st, 2023 will be 50 years CRC has been in Darlington community. Okay? To the residents and to the city council, I say the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. So then where is the concern coming from? Is the concern dealing with the fact you have an entity that has given hundreds of girls opportunity to present their performing art talent in local, state, and national competitions? Is the concern that the CRC ran the summer food program partnered with DHEC in the late 70s and early 80s, employing over 400 part-time workers during the summer and ensuring that children were fed when school was closed?
For 5 counties.
5 counties.
5 counties.
Not just Darlington.
Yeah.
Okay? Is the concern that this entity wants to ensure that there is a community that's going to be able to take advantage of what else may be out there? Performing arts, visual arts, historical preservation. We just had an opportunity to return an artifact that we have had for over 20 plus years. A World War I sword that the Ross family entrusted in the care of Darlington County Cultural Realism Complex. And we granted that artifact back to the Ross family because we want to make sure that any of the artifacts CRC has for historical preservation, they're cared for and they'll continue to be made available for public benefit and information. Year after year, the Martin Luther King program that the CRC sponsored to bring the community together, to make sure that those 2, 3, well, you know, it was Wilhelmina Johnson led, so it was probably closer to 5 or 6 hours that we come together as a community. And there is nothing different about that goal that this current board is pursuing. We have identified a need in Darlington County that hasn't been filled yet, a pediatric speech clinic. Clinics like that are being erected in cities up and down the East Coast. We have got interested parties, educators, my sister included, that are interested in fulfilling that need, using the property at 203 Orange Street. A property zoned as residential. Now, I don't know how many of you have had a chance to see the property, but there is a physical structure on that property, and in the front of that physical structure, there is a pretty big space within a fence. It's just grass. It's a nice area. I walk my dog there when I come on weekends. We have it kind of warded off right now to protect Darlington County Cultural Realism Complex from any issues that may subject us to liability. So right now we don't have it open to the public because we're not there daily yet. Okay? But how are we going to get to a point where we utilize that facility? Step one, City Council, please approve our request to rezone that property that's misclassified as residential. Rezone it as office residential.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, citizens of Darlington. I moved here about 15 years ago, give or take. And as a young man coming here, I was the past president of the Darlington NAACP, trying to become an organizer. And if it was for Miss Johnson, she was a valuable, valuable asset to me. Just all sorts of wisdom, How happy I was to find this old school soldier, still fighting a good fight.
If you can, will you just identify yourselves?
Oh, my name is Anthony Hall. I'm the community program organizer for the Democracy Center in Florence, and a church member in New Providence out in Mechanicsville. But what I've known is, since I've been here, I can't think about how many times people have told me the stories of how the CRC and Ms. Johnson, how they impacted their lives. We're in a situation, in a time now where kids are being lost. And the reason that they're lost is because they don't have those grounds and roots and nurturing places to go like they used to. Somebody who took interest in them. When you walk into the CRC, it's like walking into the history book of Darlington, Black Darlington mostly. And if you look around, you don't really see a whole lot of things that represent that. But if you want to know what can be and what has been, but she's got it. She's probably gotten more stuff in the CRC and at home, more history than people can even imagine. Ever since I've been in, and it's my understanding that it used to be a hospital, right? Right?
Yeah.
So if it used to be a hospital, it couldn't have been a residence.
At all.
Right?
Exactly.
So I don't know how they got that. I don't even know how they got that misscrewed, right? But I would hope that you would see the value that the CRC plays in this community. Not only that property, but the Coker Street property.
Yes.
I always tell her, I used to say, hey, my vision was the William P. Johnson Performing Arts Studio. That's what we're going to do. But the thing about it is that you have to hold on to those type of things and those type. It's not something that you get away with from. You need to invest in it and bring it back up, because at a day and a time such as this right here, kids need something, someplace that they can go where they know they're going to find people there that are there to nurture them and help them get on the right path. okay? The right path. So I would hope that you really and truly approve this ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you.
I'm David Longacre. I am a board member with the CRC. I am also an advisor to the board. We've had a number of conversations on this property, and I've had some concerns with this over a period of time. Wilhelmina Johnson was an insurance client of mine, and that's how I got to know her, and she decided that I was going to be one of her kids. So she adopted me, brought me in, told me the CRC is yours, you better take care of it. So we're following Wilhelmina's instructions. With that, over the period of time, this entity has been around almost 50 years now and has provided numerous programs and avenues for the community, not just the city, but also the county and a much larger area that she has run on a continuous basis. The property section in question on Orange Street was in use for a retail thrift store and a number of other things that she had run out of that building. Up until the pandemic, COVID-19 closed everything down, that was all well and fine because it was grandfathered. It was able to be used up until that. But because it was not running longer than a 90-day period, that everything stopped there, that's when the grandfathering no longer was held accountable. That comes to the problem of this zoning of this property, the way it's chopped up. It was not correct because a section of the property is actually zoned residential. The other section of it is zoned general commercial. So the argument, though, that we don't want to change this portion of the property to office residential, which makes a lot more sense, we can do pretty much whatever we want on the other portion of the property because it's already general commercial and it's right there. So why would you not change it? Why would you keep it residential when it does not match what has always been there? That building and property, the hospital goes back to the 1940s with that big property. When that building was added on Orange Street, it's 40, 50 years old at least, and was on commercial property. It was the hospital property. Does not make sense for it being considered residential. It needs to be corrected in the way that it should be. With that, we absolutely understand the concern being in a historic district. We're not looking to change the building structure. We're not looking to put up apartment complexes. We're not looking to build ugly eyesores. We just want this corrected on that section of the property so we can continue to operate with programs from the CRC the way it's been done for almost 50 years.
Hallelujah.
That's what we're asking.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Dr. William McCall. I used to be principal at all the high schools in Darlington County. I coached at Mayo, assistant principal at Darlington High School, assistant principal at Hartford High School, assistant principal at Lamar High School, and was principal of Tennessee High School. During that time, we implemented conflict resolution here in Darlington County. I did my dissertation on conflict resolution. Now, when you open up this afternoon, you open up with a prayer and you open up with a pledge. During my time in school, When we started school, we started with a pledge, and we started with a prayer. And we look at our town today, and we talk about the CRC Center, which I was a part of since 1985. The CRC Center is a much needed place in this community. It has demonstrated success. It has helped a lot of people, including me. I remember when I was in high school, Ms. Johnson was my home economic teacher. I went to class because I wanted to be with the girls.
Is your wife in that?
My wife wasn't even a picture at that time. But Ms. Johnson taught me more than just coming to class to be with the girls.
Great.
She told me I needed an education. Now, I used to be embarrassed to tell people that I didn't graduate from high school with a high school diploma. Ms. Johnson is the reason I'm standing before you today. Only thing she told me when I didn't get my high school diploma, my mama got her high school diploma the same night I should have got mine. She said, follow your dreams. I want to be a soldier. And during that time, the military was accepting students without a high school diploma.
Yeah.
When I went in, I was a good soldier.
All right.
And when I got ready, I thought I was going to get promoted. Everybody got promoted. I was a sharp soldier, and I didn't get promoted. And I cried like a baby. I was 18 years old. I cried so hard, First Sergeant took me and enrolled me in school. I only needed one unit. I got my one unit. I was one of the youngest buck sergeants in the United States. I'm at 19.
All right now. See.
I realized that education was not as hard as I made it. I made it hard. But when I reinvent myself, I made it easy because it was something that I know I needed. When you need something, you go for it. Ms. Johnson had a need for Darlington County. She wasn't born and raised in Darlington County, but she made Darlington County her home. And when she did that, she opened up the doors for a whole bunch of people. She helped a whole bunch of people. And you're talking about the rezoning. You're talking about the rezoning of the CRC Center. Like I said, I was born at Wilson Hospital. So it was a commercial place then. Why we make it residential? How it became residential? That's interesting to find out. I heard a whole bunch of issues talked about, but two issues I didn't hear about is the killing of our young people and the drug overdose. And I think, and just to say this, I used to run my office out of the CRC Center. If you look at the front, it says conflict resolution with my name on it. But the building needs some work. And I think that somehow, some money should come somewhere to help revitalize Wilson Hospital, which is now the CRC Center. We get money for everything else. Ms. Johnson fought long and hard for him to get that building up to date. And I think now, if you're going to make it up to date, probably have to tear it down and build it again. So it's a task. But Ms. Johnson helped a lot of children. Somebody gonna come along and replace us. It's gonna be our children. What we gonna leave for them? Children has a mind of their own. But we are the leaders
We shouldn't let our children tell us how to raise them. We should tell them how they will be raised in the house. And that's where a lot of our problems coming from right now. Children are telling their parents what to do. Ms. Johnson helped eliminate a lot of that because she got that after-school program. Where's the after-school programs held right now? Where's the summer programs? Where's the pageants? I mean, all those things was growing strong in the 80s. But now it seems like they just vanished away. Ms. Johnson, on her last days, she got her daughter keeping everything going, and I'm here to support her. And we need to support the CRC Center. Well, if we look at it on the political terms, the CRC Center was the only black representation in Darlington County, other than the NAACP. So when we look at that, it's not a black and white issue because Ms. Johnson had black and white children in the pageant. So it's all of our issues. And we should be for everybody. And as I'm standing, I want to come out of retirement and do something for these young folks, especially these young men from 16 to 30 or 16 to 29. I want to deal with all of them. I want to show them that they don't have to do the things that they are doing. I believe I can do it with my conflict resolution program. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jackie Lynn Jernigan. I'm not really a public speaker, so I'll do the best I can. I live on Sycamore Street, which is right across from the building, Cultural Realism. I love Miss Johnson. I've always loved Miss Johnson. I was in high school when she was there teaching. I'm all for the center being built up and having programs there in the part of the building that is already commercialized. I think they have something there on Sundays, church, which is great, but I don't know about any other programs that are going on at this time. And as far as Miss Iris coming out and speaking to people, she did come to my door. I didn't get to it in time before she left, but she did video my father, which I did not appreciate because she never told him that she was videoing him. So me and Iris did have a discussion, and I asked her to take the video down. Because my father was sharing a lot of private information that did not need to be on Facebook. So she was kind and she did take the video down, and I appreciate that. But I think when you're telling somebody to get out into the neighborhood and talk to people, nobody wants a video camera in their face. That's not really getting to know people and talking to them one-on-one. So that was that's probably why a lot of people did not speak with her, because a lot of people don't feel comfortable just being on video camera. You know? Sure. So, as far as the property that is across the street from me, there was a house on that property, on that lot, and this is a little bit about what I'm concerned about. They keep saying it was never residential. Yes, it was. Are we talking all of that being rezoned, or just that one little building, little slot there? That's what I'm a little bit confused about. I got my real estate license. I went back to school and got my real estate license, and that's what I'm doing now. So therefore, my concern is, with being the historical district, is how it causes the value of the residents that are in the historical district, and also right across the street, the value of our homes if it changes to commercial. So it's not about not wanting to help young people. It's not about not being in support of Cultural Realism Center. I'm all for that. If they want to start putting programs back in that building, I'll do what I can to help. But as far as rezoning that area, no, I don't wish for it to be rezoned. I hope that y'all will think about the other residents You know, she said she's concerned about all the residents. Well, what is that doing for us? The ones that are concerned about our properties and the value in our properties. And I know my neighbor that just purchased their house, that house was just completely redone. And so, and another thing that I'm concerned about is if you do rezone that, if you do their request and rezone, then are you going to say if my mother and father decided they want to change theirs, are you going to do it for them? Are you going to do it for everybody else if they want to do it? So that's my concern. Like I said, I'm not against helping young people. That's not what this is about. This is about the part that did used to have a house on it, and it is considered historical residential. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask a question or two? On the portion that you are speaking of, where at one time there was probably a house, prior to the hospital actually being built, in the 40s, there was a house. The doctor that actually had the hospital built, that was his house where he actually worked out of.
Can I sit down and you just address
Yeah,
it?
and I also have a question though for you.
You can ask the question, but I don't want to sit
No,
down.
that's fine, that's fine. When did you move to your property, if I may ask?
When did I move to my property? Well, 208 Orange Street, which is right across from that, it's my mother and father's house, and I lived there from 3rd grade.
Okay.
And then my son is 23, and I bought my house when he was 4.
Okay.
And
So-
also, when I wanted to put a nail sign in my yard, because I wanted to do nails out of that house, they told me no, I couldn't put a sign in my yard.
Okay.
So it's very, you know,
So you grew up in that neighborhood?
I did.
Right there. So over the time since 1973, when Wilhelmina Johnson started her programs and was in that location, you were able to see she was using that full property, including on the Orange Street where that building has been,
no,
running programs.
I saw that she had some programs in the building. I'm not so familiar with anything that she was doing on that property. I noticed she had put some picnic tables out there at one time, but as far as utilizing it and seeing a lot of things happening out there, no, I didn't.
Okay, so in almost 50 years, I'm questioning, nothing has changed in the usage other than COVID shutting things down and putting a lockdown. The property isn't changing.
I'm glad
The
you brought that
uses.
up, because that brings me to my other point I forgot to mention. Once it changes to commercial, then if they sell it, then we don't know what's gonna happen with it. You're saying you won't change the structure, but if somebody else buys it, then we're not guaranteed that
We're
either.
not saying commercial, we're saying office residential, so we can get back in that building to use it as it has been used before. That's what
Okay.
we're addressing.
Don't, you know, look at
But
me.
no, I'm trying to explain and understand also.
I know, but I feel like you're like signaling me out. I'd rather you go up there and talk and present your case to them. Because Curtis, that's what you always did before. I mean, I don't like that.
That's fine.
This is a public hearing,
But
that's good, thank you.
I do, I just want to, I want to get some clarity, because something you said, okay, you're concerned about the effect that it would have is the value of your home if it's changed. So, from what I'm understanding then, I think Ms. Lathan pointed it out in some of hers, the number of businesses and offices that's already in the historic district. So I'm trying to see if all this is existing now, what is changing? I mean, are those businesses zoned residential? They're not zoned residential, right? Is Sheila here to help me out?
Some of them are not.
Okay, so that's all I'm trying to get this, because I'm understanding that businesses are there, offices are already inside the historical district. And what do you think would happen if this property is zoned office residential? What, I mean, if the.
I've already stated that up there, ma'am.
No, that's what I didn't get a clear understanding there. because you were saying it may affect your value, and I was saying, is
It's
it
my
gonna change
understanding
because we got businesses already in this area, in the historical
Well, the
district?
one that was, it's down at the end, if I had known about that one, I would've went to those meetings and I would've asked for that not to be changed as well.
But it is there now,
It is
and
there
and the
now.
historical
It is there.
district still changed.
But,
Did it affect your
I don't
value
know
of your
the
house?
AT&T when it went in there, if it was considered a historical district at that time. So,
But nothing has it affected the value of your house? I just want to see because of
I'm
whatever's
saying this
existing.
particular property.
I'm trying to clear why there's an opposition. I truly want to get clear as to why there's opposition to what's already there. That's all they're trying to do is be consistent with what's.
When you see a sign that, excuse me,
Yes,
I'm a
ma'am.
little confused because when you're going down Spring Street, you see a sign that says entering historical district.
Mhm.
Where's the cutoff? Where's the sign that says I'm leaving the historical?
I don't think it is. That's
I mean,
what I'm
what
saying.
takes it to North Main Street, the trailer park? It had to end somewhere. Where's this historical district? I know where it starts, so where does it officially
Oh,
end?
I'm with you. I'm trying
I
to
mean,
get.
that's a point of
clar-
question. You can't tell me Roses is in the historical district. There's a starting part and a stopping point. Can somebody explain that before you get into too much discussion about what's historical and what's not?
We just keep it one at a time.
We have the maps of the historical.
All right, listen.
We got
Yeah,
it.
it tells you when you ends and when it begins.
All right, it's a public hearing, but still, if you'll be courteous and have that one person at a time speak up, I appreciate it. Thank you.
So,
Everybody
Andrew,
else, just take
Yeah.
one.
if I understand correctly, half the building is zoned residential and the other half of the building is zoned office commercial?
For the 304 building, the back, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, David, there is a part of that building that is residential.
Yes, the very tail end of 304 building is where the line is that is supposedly residential. The rest of the building is general commercial. How they ran a line through part of a hospital building and called that residential, it was never consistent when it was zoned to start with.
So it should have never been zoned that.
That is what we
In the
have been
start.
saying.
Right.
That's like, okay, so if she go to use her building, if she get to the end of the building, she got to stop and say, oh, I can't use this house.
That is
Makes no
essentially
sense.
the
It makes no
point.
sense. So it's
And
not like
that's-
she's changing anything.
That's
She
the
just
point
wanna
of
fix
the 203
the
Pine
line.
Street
It
building,
makes no sense.
because when we were using that building, it was grandfathered in. So we had the ability to use it. But that 90-day period ran out during the COVID lockdown, so that's when it reverted back. Oh, well, this is residential, now you can't even operate out of there the way we've been for almost 50 years.
And so if we zone it back, it's not gonna change anything.
And then
Because the building has already been being
It's
used
been
for
there.
50 years and nothing changed.
Lisa has explained to us, and I think I've learned way more about the zoning stuff than I ever wanted. The non-impervious space prevents us from being able to change that space that's within the fence. Because it has to be, Lisa, you can explain.
Yes, so, according to the zoning ordinance, there, you can see the building here. This is the blue here is the property. Actually, that's not this red one. This is probably, I don't know if we have a color version. So this is the hospital building we're talking about here.
Hold on a second so I can hand that out to Lisa so everybody can see.
Does everybody have a copy? Cheryl's got some information too.
This is Pearl Street. This is where the
CRC building. This is that little building, this is that other part that has that little walk down. This is the back part that keeps speaking of that's in R10. This is the front part that's in PC.
So in the zoning ordinance, depending on what zoning district you're in, depends on how much impervious surface, pavement, basically, you can have. So for example, if you think about Walmart, they have a lot of pavement. This is general commercial. You have to have a certain number of parking spaces based on what your use is. Because of the size of this building, there's only so much of this property that could even be developed if they were to develop it. And also, this section, which would be office and residential, would serve as a buffer because in office and residential, you can't build something bigger than 5,000 square feet. So even if they tore down that little metal building and built a bigger building for their pediatric services, for an office, there's only so big it could get.
They built multiple 5,000 square
No.
feet buildings, just one 5,000.
Just 5,000 square feet, that's it. So on that property, and you see this parcel has already got part of the hospital on it to count towards that 5,000. If they cut this off, that's still only 5,000 on that tiny portion. That is the maximum size in office residential. That is why it keeps it as a buffer between commercial and residential, because it limits how much building you can do.
Ms. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, with the structures that are already there, if it would be changed to the office residential, where what we call the green space, the grass that's fenced in, that area, because of the size of the buildings that are already there, we wouldn't be able to build anything over there because of how much the buildings are already being.
How much space is already being taken up
Yes.
by the building.
So it does not allow us to just go in, have it rezoned, and
Build a huge
build
giant thing.
a structure there.
So if you can't build anything on it, then why are we rezoning it?
So we can use the building that's already there, because it's in residential use, which does not allow us to run programs and things that we have been doing there.
Out
I
of
thought we were
metal building?
doing that so you guys could sell the property for the.
Well, both,
the
really.
hearing or the speech
Both.
thing?
No.
So which is it?
They have looked at leasing, the possibility of leasing that building and utilizing it.
But be specific, we say that
Yeah,
building.
which building? The aluminum?
The 203 Orange Street.
The aluminum
The metal
shed.
building, yes.
No, it is not a shed.
This,
It's not a shed.
It is not a shed. It has never been utilized as such.
okay.
So that could be renovated and utilized as something?
Yes, it has had heat in, it's gas heat, running water, bathroom facility in that building has always been in there.
It looks pretty derelict.
The outside does look,
Just
but
observation.
inside it's watertight, it's not, there's no rot, leaks, things like that.
The old laundry,
I
is
thought
that the
aren't
old
you,
laundry building or? am I thinking-
Judge, aren't you recused?
I recused myself on the first vote. I have not had any conversation with these people in a couple of years, and so I don't know that I'm going to recuse myself on this vote or not. I'm trying to get information to help me understand, because I have not talked with Ms. Johnson. Principally, she was my client. Of course, you can't talk with Ms. Johnson without talking a little bit about CRC. So I have recused myself the first time around. I have not decided whether I'll recuse myself this time around or not.
Can you recuse yourself on one vote and then vote on the next one?
I have a chance and an opportunity to rethink, just as you voted the first time to approve it, and you have the right to vote the second time
I
not
just
to approve it.
didn't know if we legally could recuse ourselves. and then-
So back to the question, was this the old laundry or or was this a different building that you are talking about is watertight?
I believe it was at one time what was considered the laundry building for the hospital.
Hello, everyone. Just to introduce myself, my name is Kai Owens. I do live at the corner of North Sycamore and Orange Street. As Jackie Lynn referenced earlier, I did just recently purchase my home in May. So with that being said, I was not a part of the prior rezoning request. So I'm just coming in on this office residential zoning request. I would like to say that, you know, I've always wanted, I moved here 12 years ago. I've always wanted a historic home. So whenever this one became available, then that's when, you know, I purchased that property. I wanted to get up here today and just tell you I'm not in favor of changing the zoning because it would change the zoning for the entire property. I did attend the city planning meeting. I was able to meet with Dr. Arnold. That day we had 2 hours of discussions. We suggested many different options that may be able to correct the zoning issue for the building that's in question. We were told every time that the only way to do it is rezone the entire property. Also during that time, Ms. Arnold did pass out a flyer that I have here, and which in that flyer states that they plan to sell the building and the plat to an entity that provides related healthcare services. So our concern as residents was that property being sold is going to change hands. She said it was going to be sold to another nonprofit, and so that plot has to be split up. Our concern is that if that happens, then you've got one plot of land here with that the building is on, and then the other plot of land, what happens later down the road?
See, excuse me, can I get Kyle to read that full paragraph, read below, read that full, before you get to that phrase, read that full statement, that full paragraph above, and then, yes, please.
Prior to COVID, a second time around shop was operating out of the building on the property. The person running the shop, Ms. Diane Singletary, wishes to work to get a significant amount of items in the hands of people who need them, furniture, clothes, electronics, etc. She and I have talked about a Dress for Success program which targets dressing your body and home for a successful living.
Okay, continue till you get to the part, yeah.
Ultimately, however, we plan to sell the building and plat to an entity that provides related healthcare services. We have two parties interested in the property. One is a pediatric speech language clinic which provides screenings and language enrichment parenting classes. The current executive director has a doctorate in speech pathology and is affiliated with a group of therapists in Florida, Tennessee, and Georgia area to open for-profit clinics.
Thank you. So I just wanted you to read it in its entirety.
Yeah.
Because not only did we show in there that we had other options prior to ultimately selling it, but it very clearly conveys to the community who we would consider transferring it to if we did. And you don't want to just glaze over that because the statement that the short statement that you read would justify people's concern. Well, who are they going to pass it to? We just told you that in that writing.
You did, but what our concern is what happens in 2 years down the road that this entity decides to sell.
What happened when you bought your house? What happened when you bought your house?
I
The
purchased a
people around
residential
you, were they concerned
property.
about you buying your house? Did they think, oh my goodness, who's moving in?
But when you change it to office residential, you have the option, it opens up the option for doctor's offices, banks,
Absolutely.
apartments, duplexes, triplexes, quadruplexes. So I mean, our concern is if that happens, the property does change hands again, then what happens to the landscape of the historic district on Orange Street?
Okay.
And, okay,
I don't think it's big enough for duplex and quadplex and all
No, it is.
Let me just ask you, I'm not sure where your home is, but the businesses that's been there, like the bank and the and the accounting and the phone, are they near your home?
Yes,
Is that?
down the street.
So, okay, you don't wonder what they might do in 2 years? It doesn't matter. All I'm trying to get at, all I'm trying to get at here is that it just appears to be, right now, these folks want to be able to get it correct, and the city, the zoning, the people that did it, did them an injustice. And all of the opposition that I'm hearing is still like, they don't wanna correct this, but it's just all personal when the same situation exists. When you purchased your home, offices were there, are there. And that's all they're zoning it to just cover how it is now. Why is that a problem?
Well, the offices, this isn't a discussion, this is a public hearing. You're not required to debate with us. You are here to speak a comment, to make your will be heard, and you're not here to go back and forth if you don't want to. But if y'all don't mind, can I interrupt you for a second? I was asking him.
I won't do that. That's what you did, interrupt me.
We're talking about commercial properties are already here. Now, already here is being defined as right beside this property. But if you go on every side of this property,
No.
if you go in it,
That
let
statement
me
is wrong.
finish.
But that's wrong right there.
Well, your statement was wrong too, but I didn't interrupt you.
But you did interrupt me, Brian. All I'm saying is that the properties that they're saying is not next door to this gentleman's house. Okay. And if it is, and the offices that are there, how are they zoned? Are they zoned residential? And that was the question that I had for Sheila. Please, Mayor, let me get this out.
Talking for me, please, and then you can come back, okay? Let's be courteous.
If you look at the home and where the property
He
is.
interrupted me, that's what I was saying, and you are allowing that, and that is why I'm having a problem. And this gentleman, I simply wanted that. I was forming this because, as I said, I just want to cut this to the point that I cannot understand if you are comfortable with with the offices that are already there. What is your fear?
This property is right beside my property, right across the street.
Right.
So like I said, my concern is
Everybody in council, if y'all can keep it down, please, thank you.
it being sold, once it's being cut and sold, the concern is that there's an opportunity for, other businesses, like I said, banks. There's a long list.
So you just don't want no other businesses coming?
Well, and it's not even, it changes, like I said, the historical landscape of the St. John's Historic District. Because if you bring in those, the historic district is just this single family homes.
And, okay, from what I'm looking at, those businesses is in the historic district. They are not outside of that.
And I wasn't here.
Okay, but you bought your home in this because you wanted the historical home.
Yes.
Inside a historical district that had businesses, that have businesses. That's all I'm saying. Why then if this, there is in 2 years, we don't know what the landscape's gonna be. Yeah, but hear me, I'm saying you purchased it knowing businesses was there in this historical thing because that's what you wanted. All I'm asking is why you can't even perceive that no businesses will not come. Somebody else may buy a home and do businesses out of theirs. You don't know. Yeah. Hey, and look at that. That would happen. So why is it such a
and I would be here too if another home was trying to be rezoned. I think the historic district needs to stay The historic district,
It's
it's
not-
single-family residential.
Right, but it is going to happen within these 2 years. Whether you support this or not, there are going to be changes because it's downtown Darlington. We have such plans. I mean, it's not, it's just, it will not stay that way. It may stay historical. I'm not saying it's not, but it's not gonna stay like it is now. That's just life.
Okay, Mr. Gardner.
Now, I'm done.
When you turn off the square, there are commercial properties. When you get down to the property in question, you are in a plainly historic district. I've been reached out to from people off of Orange Street, off of St. John's, everyone in the historic district. We are not talking about the CCR, excuse me, the CRC being able to not operate. That's not our interest. Our interest is protecting our historic districts, just like we did on Oak Street, when Miss Jenny Latham came up a few months back and asked us to rezone and put some homes into the historic district to protect those from the encroachment of Genesis.
You did.
And that's what happened in one historic district because the town cares about their historic districts. If we are gonna go and chop up our historic districts, what are we doing with zones? I mean, I just don't understand. Please let me finish.
Everybody in council, one at a time, please. Thank you.
Whenever other people were speaking, you let them speak and everybody was quiet. Please just give us the time to talk this out so we can figure out a best solution. The CRC building has a slither on the back of it that is residential, but the rest of that building is commercial, as it should be. They can go in there tomorrow and operate, and nobody from the city is stopping them. The question is whether we should rezone a piece of property so that they can have the ability to sell it for a future use that we are unsure about. At the end of the day, we don't know the future use. There's potential uses, but we don't know any future use. And so the question is whether the city wants to rezone a property under the assumption that the future use is going to be this or this, and we all know what happens when we assume. The fear in my mind is that we start cutting up our historic districts, and then what's the point of them? I have no issue with us going and looking at a variance for a business that you potentially want to run, and we can approve it no problem for the back area. Wouldn't be a big deal. But to go and rezone the property, from my perspective, is just a blatant disregard for the historic district and what we're trying to build in our town and in our historic areas. And I mean, that's my opinion on the subject.
So let me ask a question. Are you finished?
Yes, ma'am. For now.
Lisa,
Yes, ma'am.
let me ask you a question.
One second,
Mr.
one second.
Owens,
Before you
will you
finish.
finish?
Yeah, I mean, basically,
I'm sorry.
I mean, I mean, I might,
Why don't you have a seat, and then if it comes back to the full.
I will say, you were asking about variances and stuff, we did talk about that type of situation in the city planning meeting that lasted almost 2 hours, and had those discussions with Dr. Arnold and the city planning commission, but we were told that that type of thing could not happen. We even suggested variances and that sort of thing, so just wanted to put that out there.
Right.
So Lisa,
Yes, ma'am.
before COVID kicked in, that portion of the building was grandfathered in as office commercial? Or was it grandfathered in?
The use, that
Of the whole
business
building, the whole
and this
building.
building was all grandfathered in because it was continuously operating.
Right,
COVID stopped all that.
right.
Now, and while we say a small sliver, the majority of this property is residential 10, low-density residential. If you see this big portion is the portion we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This front portion is commercial.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the hospital is plainly divided in half.
Mm-hmm.
The hospital was there when the zoning was done, and clearly not done correctly. A couple blocks over, not too long ago, and Miss Jones handed out some maps that show a block or two over, we just rezoned a whole section where right now there's Sassy Girl Venti, it used to be the Park Florist, that block, to commercial use, because it's what it is.
So technically, at the end of the day, all they're asking us to do is fix a problem that COVID created. It was already commercial.
It wouldn't have been.
They had it office commercial for the last, whatever, years.
It was already.
And they haven't done anything crazy.
R10 to start with.
Right, and they didn't do anything crazy with it in the last 50 years. Before COVID, and if COVID would have never happened, they would still be operating samely as office commercial. So I don't understand what the issue is, and I don't understand what the residents' issue is. Simply because I don't want you to do it. Makes no sense. They was already operating that way. Now at this point in time now, portion of their building, the office commercial part of it, and help me understand this, if they wanted to go to that half of the building and put up a 55th fluorescent light on that half of the building.
On the commercial side,
right,
yes, they can put whatever is allowed in general commercial
exactly
on that part of the building.
Okay.
For example,
if they wanted to.
On Oak Street, for example, the building of Genesis, there is a portion that is built all the way to the sidewalk.
Mm-hmm. And if you open the door, you kill somebody.
Now, that section of the building is zoned core commercial.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why that is allowed there. And you can tell exactly where, further down Oak Street, it stops being core commercial because the building is set back.
Amen.
Why are we gonna make them go through two vastly different of residential 10
I know.
and general commercial, when they're using it for office residential, which is right in the middle?
Right. And it makes no sense.
Because they have to go, for the front half of the building, use one set of rules, and for the back half of the building, use a different set of rules.
Just to be clear, you're saying back half, so you're saying half of the building?
So this portion,
The previous pictures that you showed us
this
the last
right
time.
here is the line. The back, it's flush with the dairy bar property. And you see this building? A big chunk of that building is in that.
Is it
Because when you gave this to us last year, it was somewhere around this mark that was left out of the core commercial. Where's that picture that shows the actual zoning across the building?
The zoning follows this property line.
So that's,
It's parallel
I'm not
with
trying to
Pearl
define
Street.
what half and half is, I'm just.
But I mean, it's, you know,
It's
a
not
considerable,
half.
it's not exactly half, but it is a considerable portion of the property.
It's a big portion.
And then this.
And it comes down the middle. That's what the problem is.
I've not been in this
That's
building,
what-
so I can't say that when you walk in and that part is,
Right now.
is there a,
commercial
you know,
this side.
something that says, okay, now we're entering.
This is what they're asking for office residential over there. So it's not the whole blue thing.
No, it's not the whole blue thing.
It's only a portion of the building.
The portion,
And the other part.
the portion that is currently zoned
Yeah,
residential.
it don't make sense.
So you're telling me that the grass space can't be utilized because they've already covered too much space with impermeable materials?
There's only so much space that they can cover
So
with impervious materials.
how can we change the zoning on this back half and be different than this front half?
We have
let me
it in
finish.
several places.
Why can't we change the zoning from this point of view?
Because that is not a separate parcel. And they
This
can't,
isn't a separate parcel either, correct?
right, but we
So
can't,
how are we gonna change the
we
zoning all
can't
right?
draw that, they can't get a plat done and approved without having it separated.
You're missing my question.
And they
You're gonna-
can't separate it from as R10 into that small of a section. In
Yeah.
R10, you can only separate it, it's got to be 100-foot width, and it's got to be so large.
I'm not asking to put it in R10. You're splitting up the property from GC to office residential in the back, correct? It will be.
It was, yeah, that's what it would be. This is currently
If we
R10.
pass this tonight, we would have the back half would be office residential, and the front half would be commercial.
Correct.
So then I don't understand why we could not do office residential down this sideline to go directly in line with this, and like you were mentioning with the dairy bar, on a perpendicular line, and then they'd be able to operate their business just like they want, and everybody's happy.
Not everybody.
If they're potentially going to sell the property, do you want to have this argument again?
I don't want to.
Because frankly, if you don't do the whole thing as office and residential, they'll just come here in 2 years when they've established a business in that property and say, I need this split because I'm trying to sell this piece of property. I mean,
I don't like the idea of rezoning for the potential use anyway. Obviously, I've said that already. But if you're telling me that I'm splitting the property on one axis from general commercial and office residential, I'm just curious why I couldn't split it on another axis. They get what
we're
they want.
saying that we don't want to split. We don't.
You're already doing it.
Yeah, we're already doing it, and that was a mistake. That's what we're saying. It doesn't need to be split.
That's two mistakes, though. The first mistake, and then you're wanting to do it again.
No.
No, I'm not re-splitting
You're trying to
anything.
fix what COVID created.
Well, no.
It was
Are you
already
trying to
there.
change the front half to from core commercial to office residential?
No.
Well, then you're splitting it again. You're just splitting it between, instead of R10 and commercial, you're splitting between office residential and commercial.
Which makes more sense.
And I'm fine with that. But the
Because
whole
you have property on Oak Street that is core commercial and office residential and residential 10 right next to each other, and some of that is the same property. So it's best
yes,
to.
if you drive down the block, you can get to a Roses. If you drive down the other block, you can get to a Square. That is true. But there's always been a historic district in the middle of it. It's always been that way.
So what's the problem
May
now?
I point out something, sir? This is not removing the historic nature of the property. This is not eliminating their requirement to meet the Secretary of the Interior's standards for historic districts. It is still classified as a historic district. We have 5 historic districts in this town. One of those is an industrial historic district. The zoning is a separate issue from the historic nature of the property.
Hallelujah.
There are historic properties that are industrial, there are historic properties that are commercial, and there are historic properties that are residential.
Well, explain this one to me. Why are we arguing, why is the city's perspective, as you in that position, arguing from a different perspective than you were on Oak Street? What's the difference? Because I see these as the same. What's the difference?
Last year, they petitioned, Planning Commission approved and recommended you change the whole parcel to general commercial. And I
On
was
Oak Street?
No, on this piece of property
I
right
asked
here.
you about Oak Street.
And this is what I'm gonna,
Did she
I wanted
say
that
it?
whole
Can you just
parcel to be the
answer?
same thing too. Here, they asked to be all general commercial, and the Planning Commission approved that recommendation. This council shot it down and suggested a compromise. This is the compromise. There is no other option for them to do it.
No offense, that has nothing to do with my question I asked you. I asked you very specifically. Whenever you came before us about the Oak Street area and expanding the historic district, the city's perspective was one way. And it's my opinion that it's different in this situation. Help me understand what the difference is.
Here's the difference. A historic district has nothing to do with zoning. These are completely different books. They have nothing to do with each other.
Why did we protect one and we won't
Why would
cut
we-
the other one?
We're not,
She just
I
answered.
don't think we protect nothing, because that's your mountainous building going on Oak Street. I mean, Genesis is building their building in the middle of a historic district.
the property that was protected are the houses that are along Oak Street where Miss Latham lives at North Street, and those houses on the right side between North Street and Genesis. That is what was protected.
From what?
To become in the historic district so that those residents have access to tax credits for when they want to improve their homes and maintain that historic character that we all love.
Yeah, one owner didn't want to do that. Well, the spokesperson for one owner, right?
But it was owned because there was a building there and you wanted to make that offices or something to that effect.
And we put it in the
But the way she
historic district to stop
answered,
that.
my understanding is that it was the historical district's situation on what is Orange Street is codes. It is not about
It is not about historic.
And so that is, or that's why I was saying you
Historic
didn't
district is over
understand
here.
her answer. She was answering you. Her position for Oak Street was about historical district. Her position now is about zoning. Is about zoning, the city zoning department. That's the difference. And I didn't think you understood because you were putting
Because it's
those two
confusing.
things
It's
together.
just
They're
confusing.
not the same.
Zoning is confusing.
Is the piece of property they're asking, the back of Orange Street, is that classified as historic?
It is. It is in the historic district. They will have to meet with codes, our building official, and have those, whatever they
Same
decide to
thing.
build or add on or change, will have to meet the Secretary of Interior standards, just like the house across the street.
I want to ask what Mrs. Goins asked. Mrs. Rogers. Where are the lines at that draws the line and says?
I can print you a map, so
Okay.
that's all I
So
can do.
my question, again, I do ask this of everybody sitting in the room, okay? Everybody. We, as council, have to make a decision, okay? And we are trying to make the best decision.
Yeah.
So I ask everybody to please pull your emotions out of it and let's make the right decision, okay? That is what I'm trying to do. I don't want, somewhere, somebody's gonna be mad, okay?
That's zoning. Everybody's gonna be mad at something.
Okay, but the goal is to try to make it to where we
But
do
we
the
still
right
need
thing.
the right
okay?
thing. The
So,
right thing
my
is the
question,
vote for this.
all right, so that I can clearly understand also.
Yes, sir.
That piece of property, was a hospital. That's what I remember it as. My sister was born there. I remember it as a hospital. I haven't, I've noticed a lot of activities there. I know that they have activities there. What they do, I don't know. I haven't been in there since it was a hospital many, many years ago. But when I look at it as it was all, and again, this is what I went through my head today. If I pulled up to that area and bought a house or looked on a house, I would visually look and I thought it would be all would be one piece of property. Whatever is zoned in the front, it would be zoned in the back. It should have all been zoned one thing. It's one big block there. And again, somewhere along the line, lots of things have been screwed up in our city and that we have adopted, including water and drainage and all that stuff that we're trying to fix. So somewhere along the line, somebody drew a line in the middle of a building and zoned it incorrectly. My question is so now that is historical, is the front building also historical? Is that whole block historical?
No, sir.
Where is historical?
No, it is, it follows that line right here. Then
The residential part
the
of that property.
residential part is historic, the general
How
commercial
does it-
part is
You know,
not.
like the other, like on Oak Street, for that home, for those homes to get into the historical part, somebody had to agree. Now, was it just agreed on and they didn't have approval, they just automatically got put into a historical part, or how?
That was a completely different situation. Those property owners came to the Historic Landmark Commission and asked to be in the historic district.
The property owners of the CRC.
Property owners.
And here we have the CRC property
No,
owners.
but I'm saying the property
asked-
owner of the property owner of the CRC has to be in the historic order.
No,
No.
no, the historic district was created in the late 80s, 89,
That's my question,
90.
okay, so if the house beside it or around it, whatever else has to be put into it, how did the CRC building,
The city created it,
did they just put it in the historical part?
but that doesn't affect the use. Zoning affects the use. The historic district is talking about how
Right.
it looks, keeping the character.
To protect.
Not
the
talking about what,
Not destroy
When
the
I
use.
asked, and I would like Sheila, because when I asked Sheila today, and if you build a building there, and Sheila, if you will come in and correct me if I'm wrong. You correct me if I'm wrong. When I asked Sheila today, if somebody built a building, an office or a house, or whatever else, does it have to look historical? It doesn't really have to look historical, does it, on that piece of property? I mean, it doesn't have to go to the historical commission or board?
So,
Approval, what needs-
so
what's
the
built there?
historic landmark, our historic landmark commission, governs over residents, but it excludes commercial.
The Historic Landmark Commission only deals with residences. So when the person at the corner of West Broad and Edwards Avenue built that new house, that purple house, they had to go to the Historic Landmark Commission. That was a
If somebody
residential
built a
use.
house there, they have to go through the historical part. They, office building, they wouldn't have to get there.
Correct, it would just go to Ms. Jones.
But, Ms. Jones, if you could stay here for just a moment. I finish my little speech. And on that piece of property, the zone is always residential, okay? They can't build, can they build a bank on it?
Yes,
They can build a bank on
they can build a bank, they can build ATM, they can build financial investments, they can build.
There's all
if you
kinds
look
of
at
things.
the front page of what I gave you guys, there's use on the left column, R10 in the middle column, and OR on the right column.
Okay.
What is highlighted are the differences, what OR would allow, or what R10 would allow, and what the other won't allow. It has all the differences on there. If you look at the map part of what I handed you guys, the blue parts that are highlighted are all
Yes.
the properties that are currently in keeping with what is currently OR. What is pink, there's two parts,
Yes.
which is City Hall and the administrative building. Those are government administration, those are allowed in OR, and those are not allowed in R10, those are pink. If you look,
on that piece of property from the back side, if it is zoned as office residential, what's the largest building can be built on?
I would have to look at the
It's
setbacks.
5,000. 5,000 square feet is all that they can put on there.
If you look at what is highlighted in the traditional highlighter, that's the Sanders Street Apartments, and that's currently non-conforming. It's not allowed in R10, although it is in R10. If you look at the green stripes,
Yeah.
that is what was R10 until we found it was not zoned consistent with how City of Darlington has zoned things already, because traditionally the first block of Pearl Street, South Main Street, is general commercial. We found that that was zoned R10, which is, in our opinion, at the time erroneous. We came to the city council meeting and had that changed to general commercial. So that is what you guys have highlighted on your papers. You have listed what is allowed in OR, what is allowed in R10, and what the differences are. For the most part, it is administrative support, doctor's offices, a bank, ATM. The ones that I thought was kind of weird was the funeral home that is allowed in OR, that is not allowed in R10. That was the only kind of weird one.
Hallelujah.
Cemeteries allowed in both, we have that.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to question this gentleman here that just bought the piece of property on Sycamore Street. Would he have bought that piece of property knowing that this piece of the property in question is going to be rezoned something other than residential, which leads to the people across Orange Street, next to the Dana property and those houses along there, some of those people have done some extensive work on those pieces of property. Would they have moved there and bought their piece of property, knowing that this green space may change into a somewhat commercial type application?
And, first, I want to, you were asking about where the historical district stops. It stops at Fulton Street here, straight down Orange Street, and goes back to St. John's School over that way. So I don't know if anyone wants to see the maps here. But to answer your question, I probably wouldn't have. I mean, I bought the house thinking it was in a residential street, which is what those properties right there, like I said, are zoned for. I mean, there are some, like AT&T, I think that was put there before the zoning maybe happened. there, like you said, there are 2 properties at the end that were rezoned for office residential. If I'd have been at that residence at that time, I would have voted, I've been here doing the same thing, voted against it. But yeah, to answer your question, I probably would have second guessed my purchase. If I knew that there was a potential for maybe a funeral home or a doctor's office or a bank to go right beside me.
So, what did you say it stopped?
Fulton, or it's the Fulton Street right here on the other side, right here, on the other side of the city hall.
Okay.
Wells.
Wells?
Wells, okay.
So, that's it. It stops right here, Wells. Okay.
Yeah,
Well-
I'm sorry, it says Fulton here. It might be different.
And it is starting from Main, or it starts from?
Right behind Carolina Bank.
Okay. Again, it's still my thing. You still bought it with the offices that are right there.
Yep, but that's on the outskirts of the historical district.
So let me
It's
ask
not
you
right
this.
beside the property.
No, it's not, but I'm just,
Yeah.
and it won't change the fact that yours is a historical district. It
Yeah.
doesn't change.
But it changes the fact that in the future, if the property is to be sold, that, I mean, you sell it to anyone that wishes to purchase it can put any of those.
So if the
businesses on
phone company sells there, what do you don't have no concern about that?
That's blocks
I
down the
think
road.
that's down the street, though. I don't think he's
He has
comparing that
blocks
to,
down
he's
the
just
road.
like
So
right
Lisa-
there beside him.
It's not, what now?
It's not right beside him,
blocks.
it's a couple places down.
No, okay,
So,
okay.
so Lisa,
That, I guess you, because it's okay if it's not right in front of you, or right beside you, or all of that kind of good stuff. Okay,
Could I make a statement to your statement?
please.
Because we have that entire property from Pearl Street, Sycamore, around to Orange, we have that whole section. If we decide tomorrow to sell that entire property, the whole front of that property facing Pearl Street
Yeah.
and part of Sycamore, they can develop whatever they want.
to do. That's what,
It
they
doesn't
never seem
change
to understand that.
anything. We can sell tomorrow to anybody we feel like.
You have a commercial thoroughfare on that side, and you have a residential thoroughfare on the back side. So it's really different. You get that, right?
No,
You don't? You
no,
don't?
because if they tear down
I have
those
a question
buildings.
for you. Do you live in a residence? Do you live in a home?
Yes,
Do you live in a neighborhood?
yes.
Do you mind if somebody just builds a business right beside you? That wouldn't affect you and your
If we
opinion?
sell that property, they can build what they want on it.
I asked you, would you mind if somebody built a business directly beside your residence?
Actually, I would hope so, because that's going to increase the value of my property, because now that increased it. If there's traffic there, if there's business there, that puts that value up of that property even higher.
so Lisa, let me say this, let me ask this question, because I was trying to ask a question before everybody else started talking. So right now, and he basically said the same thing I was getting ready to say. The half of the building is office commercial, right?
Commercial?
Right.
The front half of the property.
No, I'm talking about the building that's part residential and part,
General commercial.
right.
Yes.
So if they decide tomorrow to put a funeral home in that half of the building, they can do that and no problem, right?
Yes.
In that front half, yes.
So I don't understand the issue. Because they have the authority now to do whatever they want to do with half of the building. It's not like they're gonna run out and do something crazy, but they already got the ability to do it. All we're trying to do is straighten out something that was already general commercial.
That is a problem.
That's all we're trying to do is straighten out a problem that COVID created. It's not like you're changing anything. But I mean, if y'all gonna make own big issue about it, go get you the biggest light you can find and put it
Mr.
up.
Gardner, could I ask you a question?
Because it makes no sense.
I'll say
I
this
got one more
with,
question, Mr. Gordon.
if COVID is the issue and loss of the previous use is the issue, I don't know where she's getting her legal advice from, but I always thought we could make variances. And if COVID caused that business to close and then you lost your usability, then I don't understand why we couldn't give a variance for that business to still run there. That would be my suggestion. That's something I think that could be easily done. You know, may take us a month to have our lawyer work out the paperwork, and we can have it done probably without even council vote.
No.
Mayor, I think you're absolutely correct when you say we should really take the emotion out of this. Because when we look at our existing zoning codes and requirements for this rezoning classification, it clearly meets that. I sympathize with the residents about being concerned about property damage. But the center board of directors have been so forthcoming with their intentions that it's only going to increase their property value. Because what they're proposing is gonna look much better than what we thought, some thought was a shed.
Exactly.
So I think doing the right things, correcting errors that the city has made on the one hand, and following the existing requirements for zoning that the city has, and taking emotions out of this is the proper way for us to proceed. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, can I ask you one more question?
Amen.
Ms. Jones? Sheila?
Yes, sir.
One more question, I'll leave it on.
Yes, sir. No, you won't.
I don't call you before 8:30. If they were to tear down the building in the front, general commercial, nothing changes tonight or ever, and they were to tear the front down, build a funeral home, bank, whatever.
If they tore the front down, that's general commercial, they can,
Okay.
there's a longer list of things they can do on the front.
I'm saying, my question is, if they tear that down, let's say they tore that down, they build a building across the front with a drive-through out to the front, and the back was all paved. And properties could still come through there, and when I drive by, it still could look like it's all one unit, but it still would be R10, but it'd just be a parking lot. Would they be allowed to have that as
I don't believe it.
parking?
I don't
I'm saying,
believe-
could that, something like that, they're not asking for that, I'm just saying, if
No,
they
no,
sold it,
well,
another person came along.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is, I believe if you look on here, R10 is not permitted in, parking lots are not permitted in R10, they are permitted in OR. So no, they wouldn't be able to make that a complete impervious surface, no, sir.
Could a psychiatrist operate an office out of a residence?
Yes, it's called a home occupation. They just would have to live within the parameters of home occupation, which means it could never look from the exterior as though there's a business on the inside. We have many home occupations within the city.
So a speech therapist could run their business out of there?
We have a speech therapist that's running out of a home at this time.
So a speech therapist could run out of Orange Street?
Yeah. If it was a home and they wanted to have a home occupation, yes, sir.
It's never been a residence. No one lives there.
And then
And
we shouldn't determine
just to
what
make sure
where they
that
do
I'm
with their
clear,
property.
we don't have any plans of pursuing home occupation because we don't have any plans of anyone ever residing at 203 Orange Street as though it's a residence.
And then I don't want to be in there determining people's property,
Would you like
what
to
they
make a
do.
suggestion that
Sure don't want you to
table
tell
it,
me
still work on it for another,
do our
till next
jobs.
month?
Stay
Or
with
do you want
the
to
code.
vote, or where are we at? We need to get this.
That's part of that problem.
You need to close, if you're gonna move on, you need to close the public hearing first.
Motion to close the public hearing.
I'll say.
Are there any other speakers? We should ask that.
Mrs. Backus?
I'm pretty sure.
Mrs. Reed?
We've all.
Very good motion to close the public hearing. Thank you all. Council, would you like to
Take a break.
table it, or you can vote on it?
Oh, no, then we gonna vote. I'll say we take a vote. We gonna vote.
I'll motion to table second reading ordinance 2022-09.
We got,
Question was further to speak on it later on.
I think we need to have a motion, vote, and move on.
Everybody can cancel, if y'all, excuse me, if y'all can be quiet. People on the video can't hear, plus we can't really hear each other also. Thank you for your
This is motion and second.
motion to table it.
no.
Motion to second it. Mr. Millen, do you make a motion to table it?
Or,
Do you make a vote? The second
Is the motion to table it until the next council meeting?
motion to table.
All right, is it the motion to table until the next council meeting and not just odd notice?
Yeah.
I'll vote in favor of tabling it until our next council meeting in October, not delaying it past that.
Mrs. Dawkins,
I vote no on tabling it.
Mrs. Reed,
I vote no.
Mr. Seager. Okay, so we have four. All right, so we'll table it till next month, and then we will continue to research it some more. All right, thank you. Can we take a break? Yes, take a 5-minute recess.
Recess, don't come back.
Recess is over. Ready?
Move my agenda. Oh, here it is. I wrote on the thing.
We've agreed to, we voted to table the second reading, which was 7B, okay, till the next council meeting. Number 8, new business, SC Darlington Architectural Survey, final report. Stacy Ritchie.
Thank you for your patience tonight.
My pleasure. Good evening, Stacy Ritchie with Access Preservation. Some of you have a copy. I apologize, did not order another copy. There's also, it's also digital, so you can get a copy. I can send you digital or make
Oh,
some.
this is, okay, I got you.
So thank you for hiring me to do this project for you. This is the Southeast Darlington Historic Resource Survey. I am an architectural historian, historic preservationist. So basically there are several components to this project. There's a historic context statement in the beginning where we research the development of Darlington and in particular the southeast section to help explain why the buildings that are there, what potentially may be considered important or has historic integrity. So the second component was the survey itself. So there are 317 resources that I surveyed in this section. So each one of those has a survey form. Those are created by the State Historic Preservation Office. Each one has digital photographs. All the survey forms are also digital. Those are PDFs. So essentially, out of this area of the southeast section of Darlington, there are 3 main components. There is a historic Avenues District, as I'm calling it, which has A through H Avenue, also has 1st through 3rd Street, which historically would have gone to 7th Street. There's an industrial section on the northeast corner, and then on the south section down at Joe Louis Boulevard from H Avenue was Washington Terrace. And this has historically been an African-American residential slash industrial area. And in looking at the historic area and researching this,
May I see it?
are you?
Don't touch me.
May I see it?
Don't touch me.
Okay, can I look at the?
You can look at mine for now, and then I'll
Thank
just
you,
give
I
it back
do
to Marnie.
apologize. We're supposed to be sharing.
So, in looking at the southeast section of Darlington, there's clearly some rhyme or reason to that avenue section in the 1st Street. It's designed as a square in the grid pattern, which is unusual for Darlington. So the question was why is it like that? There was a group of white investors who created the Darlington Land Improvement Company in 1888, and they had this area platted in 1890 to be speculative real estate investors, basically, to open this section up to residential development and to make money. And they did. And they sold properties. Some areas became rental properties, and it became African American residential. And we don't know if they specifically marketed it to that demographic, or if it's because Edmund Dees came in the 1890s, who was an African American, and he kind of established that it would be that. Originally, as you can see on the cover, that's the plat of this, the north half of this area. It was supposed to go all the way to 7th Street, but the railroad that came in 1911 slashed through 4th Street, and is still there today. So that disrupted the concept of this whole residential area, going all the way to 7th Street. It grew very slowly. When Darlington Veneer Company came in 1918, that probably helped spur some growth in the 1920s. And then the Dixie Cup or individual cup in the 1930s helped spur a little more residential growth. So and then Washington Terrace, that area to the south opened up from the 40s to the 70s. And of course the industries attracted to the railroads. So those are the reasons behind why we see what we see. I did make a recommendation for a National Register district of the Avenues area, which is the grid pattern you see on the cover, for its association with land planning and private development in the city and nationwide, which was kind of a popular trend at that time, and also for its association with African American history in Darlington. And the State Preservation Office has concurred with that recommendation. So that doesn't list anything on the register, it's just a recommendation. If someone down the road wanted to make a district, then they have that foundation started. So nothing has changed for anyone's property, there's no new rules for anyone's property, it's just a recommendation. But at least now you have a record of what's in this section of town, why it's there, and what may be historically important. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you.
And we started this project given the major investment by Dixie Cup and of course working with the county and economic development, looking at that area and the amount of vacant properties, and knowing that because of that investment, more investment is likely to come. So we wanted to survey this area to gather as much information as we can, as much history as we could, before some, development will wipe out stuff. It's just the nature of things. And so we wanted to capture that history before it's gone. Obviously, based on the integrity of some of the houses, some of it's already gone, but at least we're trying to capture that history.
Where would you anticipate that additional commercial growth or industrial growth would occur somewhere within this district because of what Dixie Cup has done?
With Dixie Cup investing $145 million, that's going to make people take notice. There's property that's available that has access to the railroad. That property being available is obviously property that we would be pitching to different industries and commercial uses.
Do we have a block of property that is where people would like to sell it if we could get an industry?
This is to start that process, to working with the county. They developed a plan for the area, the starts of a plan, which was presented to council several years ago when Mr. Frank was still alive. And so we wanted to continue moving that forward, and this is part of that.
And the historic district boundary stops well short of kind of that railroad section, stops on 3rd Street. And the railroad.
You have to speak loud in these old ears.
The proposed boundary, if there were to be a historic district, stops on 3rd Street, and the railroad is essentially on 4th Street. So there's a block, kind of a buffer of vacant land between the recommended boundary for the residential area, if there ever were to be a historic district. This does not make a district, it's just a recommendation.
Questions? A lot of this is in your ward. Have you got any questions about it?
No.
All of it in my ward.
No. Well, I appreciate your time and your interest, and thank you for working with me. And Lisa, it was a pleasure to work with. So I'll
Go back to Columbia.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go back where?
Columbia.
Oh, you came from Columbia?
The SCMA civility resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to follow up on Councilman Seeger's comments last month in September. I think all of us except Elaine, we went to the SCMA conference in Charleston, and their theme was civility in government. This is not a matter just for Darlington or the PD or South Carolina. It's a national issue. And they have asked municipalities and towns to pass a civility resolution, if you will, and that's what I'm going to present you with. From their website, they've got 9 pillars of civility, and I'll read them to you quickly. Be as eager to listen as to speak. Concentrate on what you have in common, not what separates you. Act as you would expect someone to act in your home. Make your case on merits, not on what people want to hear. Your time is valuable, so is everyone else's. Respect it. Ask questions to learn, answer questions with respect. Concentrate on facts, not theories. Ask what will persuade people in this room, not what will make a great tweet. And lastly, make your point about the issue, not the person. And I gave you a copy of the resolution, and I'll read it very briefly. And assuming that you pass it, there's a signature section for each one of you at the bottom. A resolution pledging to practice and promote civility in the city of Darlington. Whereas a recent national survey found that 93% of Americans believe that incivility is a problem, and 68% considering it a major problem, and 74% believing that incivility is increasing in America. And whereas the City Council of the City of Darlington, the governing body for the City of Darlington, South Carolina, recognizes that robust debate and the right to self-expression as protected by the First Amendment of the United States Constitution are fundamental rights and essential components of democratic self-governance, whereas the Council further recognizes that the public exchange of diverse ideas and viewpoints is necessary to the health of the community and the quality of governments in the municipality, whereas the members of Council, as elected representatives of the community and stewards of the public trust, recognize their special role in modeling open, free, and vigorous debate while maintaining the highest standards of civility, honesty, and mutual respect. And whereas in order to publicly declare its commitment to civil discourse and to express its concern for the common good and well-being of all of its residents, the Council has determined to adopt this resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. The City of Darlington pledges to practice and promote civility within the governing body. The elected officials of the Council enact this civility pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of the City of Darlington. This pledge ensures all communication, both spoken and written, to be open, honest, and transparent, as this is vital for cultivating trust and relationships. This pledge ensures mutual respect to achieve municipal goals, recognizing that patience, tolerance, and civility are imperative to success. This pledge ensures opportunities for finding common ground and engaging in civil discussion to seek solutions while actively listening and thoughtfully participating. Adopted in regular meeting the 6th day of September 2022.
Do we have a motion to adopt this resolution?
I'll motion to approve the civility, respect, solutions resolution to practice and promote civility in the City of Darlington.
I'll second it.
Mr. Millie, Mrs. Backus, Mrs. Reed, Mr. Seegers, okay, all right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. And I'll have, when we end tonight, I'll ask each of you to sign this.
Thank you. All right, new business, C, update of the past year, okay?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, it's kind of flown by, but I've now been here just a little over a year. And I remember when I interviewed, I knew that I was coming into a town that needed some special attention, and I felt that I was one that could do it. And I'm proud to stand here today and give you this information. Now, this is not everything that we've done, but these are what I'm going to call the 10,000-foot level items, and I just want to go over it. I'm going to tell you what I found and some things that I've done. One of the first things that I did was create personnel policies on sexual harassment, COVID, random alcohol and drug testing, and I've actually called employees with drugs in their system. And the creation of an employee grievance committee. I remember when I was sitting out there, Ms. Backus specifically asked me if I was in favor of it, and I told her that I was, and I had it done by the end of the year. I've also found that on some of the some of the office spaces that we own down on the square, there are no leases. Nobody can find any leases, so I'm not saying that the people aren't paying, there's just no leases. And as a good lawyer will tell you, you have rights and responsibilities. So at this point, I'm writing up leases. I've already contacted the individuals, and I don't foresee any problems with that, but we will have signed leases. I actually did find one tenant that had not paid rent in over a year, owing us about $12,000. There was no enforcement. Hospitality tax. I started looking at the hospitality tax and found out the first problem was there was no enforcement behind the ordinance. I asked why, and I just heard, well, that's just the way we were told to handle it in the past. And I wasn't satisfied with that, so I started doing random audits. I would ask staff to give me a list of names, and I'd pick them based on whatever side of town, one here, one there, whatever, just random audits. Two that I found, right off the bat, over 2 years owed the city of Darlington $23,000 because they had not paid and nobody went after them to do it. Basically, there was no enforcement. Well, I'm happy to tell you there is enforcement now. When I asked, how do they report, I was given a little coupon booklet. Kind of like the old greenback stamps thing, you know, you pull off. Well, it was the same thing. You pull out a coupon, and there was no verification. You simply wrote in whatever you thought you were supposed to write in and send that check in. So we had no verification and no enforcement. I can't tell you how many, over the decade, or a little over a decade, how many tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars the city's lost. I have no way of calculating it. Well, we do have that now. We use a new form with a verification, and what I do is require each month the business has to submit a copy of their what's called the ST3 form, their sales and use tax form. It's what any merchant in here that's watching will tell you. By the 20th of every month, they've got to send it to the Department of Revenue. I request that form because that way I can know what their revenues are. I also found we had serious issues over the business license verification. We pretty much did the same thing. Write in your gross income, multiply it by this percent, and this is what you owe. No way to tell if people were being honest or not. Now, I like to give anybody the benefit of the doubt, but when it comes to this, I'd like a little verification. So on that form, we now require that they submit either a profit and loss statement for the year or the front page of their tax return. And I just want to see gross revenues to see if they match. In doing my review of business license, out of one big box retailer who was never put on the rolls over the entire time that business has been here, I recouped $19,000. They never offered it up because we never asked for it. Well, I found out about it and I asked for it, and they sent me a check for nearly $19,000. If you remember back in July, I came to you and asked that we invest, at that time, roughly $3.9 million that we had sitting in bank accounts that were earning 0.8%, generating about $4,200 a year for the citizens of Darlington. If we could investment in the local government investment pool through the state treasurer's office. Well, it's now paying 2.24%, and I presume that the Fed will go up again on rates probably this month or next. I'm not sure when they meet, so that rate will go up even again. The first full month, instead of $4,200 for a year, in 1 month, we collected $7,337.08. Or roughly about $85,000 a year, assuming that the money stay the same. It's going to ebb and flow. But if that $7,300 were to stay constant, we'd make about $85,000 a year in interest income alone, versus $4,200. Between that $85,000 and the money that I have found in the other places, I have brought in $139,000 into this city in 1 year, which well pays for more than my salary. A couple other items I want to just mention. Georgia Pacific, I've been working with them for about 6 months on trying to convey the parking lot over on Broad Street. That when they give us that, we're also going to have to work with the railroad, because we're going to need an easement at some point. When we try to put in stormwater, we can cut across that property and hit the railroad and take the railroad out instead of going down Broad Street and cutting across. It'll save about $1.5 million. We've rewired City Hall, and soon we'll be installing a new telephone system. My phone literally would not work. If you picked it up, the wire slipped out. I had to hit speakerphone to speak to anybody, and I couldn't change the voicemail. This phone was 25 years old. I couldn't change the voicemail from my predecessor. If anybody called, they heard his name. That's how antiquated the system was. We've also created a grants committee to streamline the process for y'all, and I'll have a little more to say about that in a minute. We have a number of new businesses coming and expansions. We've got Mavis Tire. They just cleared their lot right beside Walgreens. That's going to be coming. Mog Wash is open. We've got a convenience store that's being built right there over in Miss Elaine's ward at 52 and Washington Street. Georgia Pacific, Genesis, the courthouse, and the historic museum expansions. Roughly, it's $170 million that's coming into the community. We've got 47 new apartments on the way between Blue Street and Broad Street. Housing is a serious issue around here. I know it took me a while to find a place to rent to move over here. So 47 new apartments is good, because that infuses more people into the city. There's 3 new stores coming up around the public square. There's a new hairdresser, there's an ice cream and confectionery shop, and there's a children's clothing store coming. The downtown area is coming back alive, slowly but surely. A new physical therapy business is coming to the old KFC in October, and Southern Charm Restaurant opened up about a year ago. We're about to apply for roughly $8 million in grants to address water, sewer, and stormwater. COVID money that was sent to the state, the General Assembly and the governor decided to allocate $900 million to what's called RIO, Rural Investment Authority. And those applications are due in about a week or a week and a half, but we are going to apply for stormwater and some water and sewer, but it's going to be about $8 million, roughly, give or take. The Terrence Carraway Police Memorial's getting close to being finished. there's a lot of discussion from time to time about the water and sewer department. And I understand people are upset when their bills go up. I don't like my bills going up either. I'm pretty frugal, and I don't like my bills going up either. But the fact is, all of our bills are going up, so if we don't keep up with at least our costs, we get behind, and then we run deficits, and you can only do that for so long, and then your infrastructure crumbles, which is what we've been finding. But over the past year, Water and Sewer Department's been repairing infrastructure. They've had 9,208 work orders in 12 months, 5,662 sewer pump station daily checks. They've repaired and replaced 266 items at the city's 14 pump stations. They've completed 188 service line cleanouts. And what we're finding is a lot of them are man-made problems. It's not the system, it's what people flush down the toilets, which is the problem. Just quite frankly, disposable wipes does not mean biodegradable, and it does clog them up. Sometimes it pushes raw sewage back into people's houses. And they've also repaired 345 water line leaks. These aren't things that we've created, these are things that we've inherited, and slowly but surely we're trying to repair those. And that's all I've got on that. I just wanted to give you an update of what, just a high level of what has transpired in the last year.
All right, thank you. All right,
Grants committee update. Okay, you created the grants committee several months ago. They had been seated. They met for the first time on August 15th. Applications have been posted on the website and in the paper, so we're legal as far as that goes. Applications are due by 5 o'clock on September 23rd, 2022. Then the committee will meet on September 29th, 2022 to interview the applicants and make their funding decisions. And then the committee will make the recommendations to you at the October 4th meeting. Now, what I'm requesting is they're going to need to know a dollar amount that you're willing to take out of age tax to disperse to these entities. So if you all would discuss that, I need a dollar amount. I can't tell them to make recommendations without some parameters.
When do they meet?
They're going to meet September 29th.
Might have to cancel that because council requested to get an update as far as what we had spent last year, what we had given out, so we could have an idea.
I've got that.
I don't.
Well, I looked it up today. The entities that we've given out money to, DDRA, West End Heritage Corp.
I don't care. I mean, names are irrelevant. It's really the total dollar amount.
$77,000.
That include DDRA?
Yes.
And music on the square?
DDRA, West End Heritage Corp, Pilot Club, Darlington Country Club, Grand Ole Post Office, Chamber of Commerce. And that Chamber includes the July 4th, all of that activities. $77,000 total. Now going forward, keep in mind, we've been discussing the need to leverage those funds, so we need to keep as much funds as we can available. I don't know how many applications we're going to get. I don't know what the dollar.
Is council prepared to make a vote on how much you would like to do?
No.
Or?
I wanted to look at that list and see what we've done out in the past.
Where's the applications located at?
They're on the website, and it also says if they come out here, I'll give them one.
They're in
Well, I
the
think
front,
applications
there's
would be
a
put up front.
folder of them up
There's a
front.
folder of them up front too.
Yes, with the other public notes.
So it could be publicly on Facebook if you want to fill out an application for fees or funds throughout the next year, throughout this fiscal year. It's going to be on the website, or either you can come into City Hall and there'll be at the front office.
Why is this application haven't been put in the paper?
It has been. The notice has been put in the paper.
The application, I'm asking why.
The application is several pages long. We can't put that in the paper. But the notice has been made in the paper, It's on our website.
They just come by here and pick up one. All right, would y'all like to, make a motion on a dollar amount, or discuss about a dollar amount? Table that.
We've been doing 77.
Yes, sir, I can give you the breakdown. West End Heritage Corporation got $2,500. Pilot Club got $5,000. Darlington Country Club, the Southern 500 tournament, got $2,500. Grand Old Post Office got $5,000. Darlington Chamber of Commerce got $14,500, and the DDRA got $47,500.
That's not correct.
That's correct, because I'm looking at
That
it.
is over 3 years. In the
No.
last year, it was
No.
25,000.
No, that's incorrect. I'm looking at a daily account inquiry from July of last year until the present time, and I've got $47,500.
I don't think we gave
In
you
one year?
$47,000.
In 1 year?
I don't remember that. We
would've had-
$47,000.
On July 13th, 2021, we gave them $16,000. On
That's a lot.
September 17th, 2021, they got $6,500. On March 4th of this year, they've got $25,000.
We gave them an original amount
Yeah.
for bands, and then we upped it
Yeah, we-
16,000 for the finish out the year. So that will be where.
She wanted to take them out through the next couple of months or something, I think. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah. Whenever we
I'm
do
looking
this,
at the check detail.
whenever we do these numbers, my opinion is the DDRA, the Downtown Alive, should not be incorporated in this community fund, because that's something the city does. That's my opinion.
And if you'd like to theoretically just remove it, that's fine. I mean,
So,
math.
do they raise any funds on
Take it
their
out
own?
of that fund, don't we have to then budget something in a
I'm not
different
saying we
line?
won't fund it in the future, but whenever we're presenting to the community to come apply for a grant funding, I don't want to be taken for that grant funding for the downtown music events, because that's the thing that we're doing for the city to grow the city.
Right.
So I want to keep that separate from the community funding. Does that make sense?
Okay, so if we take out DDRA, if you want to keep it separate, that's fine. It's $29,500.
Is the total for everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but we got to have that other, whatever dollar amount it is, that the 47, if it was the 47, we got to recognize somewhere in the budget process, it's there.
Is the chamber in there?
Yeah, chamber
The
was
Freedom Fest.
14.5.
Thank you for giving us
No.
that.
Included everything.
Don't we have an outstanding request or something? Didn't somebody come in before we?
Pilot Club of the Southern 500. But they're gonna make application.
And the country club, did y'all give them?
That's the Southern.
Southern 500, but they're gonna
That's the
make an
Southern 500.
application.
Oh,
That's just the name of the golf
What
tournament.
was the other name,
Oh.
the lady that came in here, Elaine? Jumping something?
huh. Say it again, I'm
What was the
sorry.
name that,
Jump into new
jumping
heights.
something came in here one day? What
The
was
place
that?
off the square there?
Jump into new heights.
Yeah.
Jumping
Did
to
she give
new
us a
heights.
figure that she was at, or she just?
Jumping,
Yeah, it's that place right off, used to be like a Mexican restaurant and,
oh,
It's right off Main Street.
oh, yeah,
it's a Jamaican place,
Just right beside that.
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
Across from the, print shop at IGA, almost right there, it's a little bit further back toward town. When you first come off of, Pearl Street, turn right on the main, it's like that stucco, kind of tan looking building there. Used to be, it's
What are
been
you
a
saying
bar.
about her?
Ma'am,
What are you saying about her?
you asked about, I was going to tell you who she was, if you didn't know that's where she was. She just runs that place. It's supposed to like help kids, I think, do stuff.
Right.
Not the you talking about the Jamaican stuff?
No,
Right
she,
beside it.
the place
What you talking about where
is,
Jax used to be?
yeah, James has been, that's where the young lady was asking for money. Did she fill out an application though? You don't know. I mean,
I'm just telling you that's who she was, that lady that you're talking about.
The only two people that we would have to worry about if we wanted to back fund would be the country club and their golf tournament, and then the Sweet Potato Festival. So the Sweet Potato Festival is really the main one we need to. You resident?
So what's the number again, John?
Oh, I just said.
Without the DDR, it's $29,500, so basically $30,000.
So okay, so you wanna, we spent 77,000. And we just need a number, not to go over 80,000.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
and keep in mind that
Right.
at some point, you're gonna wanna, most likely to leverage some of these funds, so the more you have there, the more you can leverage.
Well,
I was thinking based off of this, I
Don't
was
go
thinking
over
maybe you wanna
75 then.
allocate maybe $40,000 to $50,000. I don't know how many people are going.
I'll say
I
30.
think it should be more, because there's other people that's gonna come that ask for money, that asked last year for money.
Right,
So
okay.
you can't go to no 30,000 or 40,000. I don't think that's a sufficient amount.
So y'all want to give out 100,000 every year out of a fund that has 400,000? Well, really,
I just said,
250 to. How much do we have after our mortgage right now? After the bond?
yeah, well,
What's our operating
After
number?
the principal and interest on the payment is $154,000, so out of about $420 a year, that leaves you about $266,000 net.
So right now we're at 266.
Net.
but I'm saying, we paid out 77. You know those same people coming back, we already got people coming, so you know it's gonna be for about the same amount. It'll be hard to turn that down. So I'm just
And not even-
saying 75. Me, I said 80. I mean, just cap it off there at 80. Just to,
And not even mention the people that you took out the budget.
But
They
keep in
said
mind,
they
no,
need
this
to
is
come and
H
apply.
tax. This is H tax. Just keep in mind, there's no requirement that you give a penny of this. You could use it all to fund your own projects, but the city's
Right.
been benevolent.
but you
and
know
has
we're
done
gonna
this in the
give, we're
past.
gonna pay.
Lisa, what does the DDRA, we funded for last time was for the events?
$25,000 for the concerts and New Year's Eve.
25 plus 16 because we did that.
That was the prior year.
Okay, so it's just
I'm
25.
Yeah,
just looking
it
at
did
the
say
date
it was
that showed
July
13th.
2021. That
It
was.
wasn't at 47,000, I didn't get $47,000 yet.
So the July 13th was, before it was $4,000 for 4 events, wasn't it? Per event, was $16,000 is what
It
you
was
got for the events.
$16,000 the
That is
first
rated,
time.
that is rated the prior, that rated late, I guess. So with the next year, we went to $25,000, so really, realistically, you're at, if you back the $6,500 is for what? What was the
New Year's Eve and one more concert.
$25,000 was for,
So that's
25.
31.5.
the $6,500 was to do the New Year's, was the.
Was to do the New Year's.
That's 31.5.
But what I'm trying to figure is.
So it's
we did
25.
16,000, hold on a second. We did 16,000, and that year later, we gave $6,500.
It was 16,000, it was like a May start, maybe it was June.
So about $25,000 a year is what they need to fund, continue to fund
Basically,
what
you
they
need
got.
25 to 30,000 a year if you wanna have 5, 6 events.
Right, so $25,000, their $47,000 could actually be back down to $25,000. And they would still be, you're not cutting them at all. Because you're still
I'm
funding.
just reporting the numbers.
Yeah,
So-
I know.
All I'm
we-
saying,
If we
just,
stay at like 70, I mean.
I'm
just
still saying,
as a
you
high
ought
number.
to, you just spent 77. You know that same folk coming back, so to me, you're gonna have that. Even if you take off that 16 you want to take off for the next year, you know they're coming back.
But I guess we don't have to be as philanthropic. I mean, we can scale back some of the monies that we're giving out, so it's not quite so much. We can accommodate more people.
We've got to do that because of our recreation needs.
Theoretically, you only gave away $54,500 for a year because I understand what he's reading off is what he's
Right.
reading off is correct, but that money was actually delegated from the time before.
All right.
So you're actually only giving away
2021.
$54,500 out of your budget for all that stuff. So you could do $60,000 or $65,000 and still have enough to give the $25,000 allocated for the.
How are we going to afford a bond for our baseball fields if we do that?
So how you gonna accommodate for the other people that's gonna come and ask for a donation?
I'm
For
not,
example,
I'm not debating anything for a second, I'm just saying, what was actually spent was only around $55,000. Because the 16, that number was written, it was written this year, but it was pulled out of the money from last year, and the $6,500 was, they don't need, you can go ahead and cut them, if you wanna look at it that way, out of the $77,000, you can cut them $24,500, because they're not gonna come back and ask for $47,000.
Right. So then I don't think we need to go below the 77,000.
That's what I'm
Because you're
saying.
gonna have, for example, the center. Center was taken out of the budget and was told that they need to come and apply for, monies from this from that,
No, that would be
grant.
no, that's a different pot of money. That was budgeted, there's $18,000 in that community development portion. That's separate from this. This is just H-tax. They would not, I don't believe they would be eligible for H-tax because they're, at least the best of my knowledge, I don't know. They're not having events or bringing in tourists or anything like that. I think
That has nothing to do with the
I
center.
mean, it's got everything to do with H-tax.
It does not. This is a charity. Anybody can come and ask for a donation from the city.
That, not out of
It has
H-tax.
nothing to do-
Not out of H-tax. That's another fund of money.
We don't have another fund of money.
We've got $18,000 sitting there. And the PDRTA was funded out of that and a few other things.
Our question is are we gonna pull DDRA out separately? Out of this fund is what you're asking? Is everybody okay with that?
That's
Yes.
up to
Well,
you.
if we pull it out, we still got to say.
I understand what I'm asking is-
30,000 on DDRA.
So
But
basically,
the question
it's
is-
a part of the application process or not, we got to allocate the
So
money.
the question, Judge Millen, is that, I'm just gonna use a round number. If we say that we're gonna allocate automatically $25,000 for the DDRA, there's $100,000 here, then do we leave this at 75,000 or 60,000 or whatever? So we were at 77,000 according to them, so 75,000, we pulled 25,000 off of that, there's $50,000 left in there that you can still give out. It's not up to who gets what, it's up to them to get what. So
And
you want
keep
to
in mind-
stay at 50,000, you want to go less or more.
The purpose, yes, sir.
I want to be philanthropic. I wish I could give away every dollar I make. I wish I was that independently wealthy. It would be a wonderful thing. But we all know we have to fund a recreation complex in the next coming calendar year in theory. And y'all are taking a fund that's right now only has $266,000 a year in it.
Well, that's net. Yeah.
That's
That's
the
cash
facts.
flow.
Yeah, that's what we have after our existing
After the
bond.
payment, yes, sir.
So we only have $266,000 right now, and y'all are wanting to potentially take out 75,000 and do it as community relations for nonprofits. And I have no problem with nonprofits. I mean, I support nonprofits, but it's not the government's job. The government's job is to give resources to the community that we collect taxes from. And the resource that we're supposed to give out of that hospitality fund is tourism-related stuff.
Gotcha.
It's not community relations.
Gotcha.
It's supposed to be for stuff that comes and brings tourism money into the city.
All right,
You know,
listen for a second.
My point
So-
right here is,
Hold on.
let me finish, please.
yeah. I just,
266 minus 75,000. I just don't know how we're going to pay for ball fields in a couple months.
right. Well, we are not gonna be able to pay for ball fields with that 200 and something thousand anyway. So we have to, so my thing is, this,
So give it away.
the thought that you have, how come you haven't used it in the past? All we are saying is what we have done
I have used it in the past.
and we have voted to do these things, and it's going to be expected that we continue, because we have set up a grants committee where these folk can come and request. So that's it. All we're saying now is that we will cap it at what if you want to lower it, I want us to get to that, cap it. We are going to do it. We cannot not do it because of what we have put out there. This is public knowledge and all that. Let's just cap this, give us an amount that the committee can work with and move on. I'm just saying, because we have spent 77, I do not see anything being any less.
Well, first off, we've never
75 or 80.
spent 77, we've spent 54. And second off, just because we've done something in the past is not good enough reason to do it in the future. Right now, we have to be conservative with our dollars. Y'all tore us up and down for raising the water and stormwater fee and the sewer fee. Y'all tore us up and down.
Still doing it.
And you want to spend all the money in the hospitality fund and then wonder why we can't buy a ball field.
Because you're not gonna buy a ball field with 200 and something thousand.
And you're not gonna
That's
buy it
just-
with less. If you take 75 out, it's gonna be
And
even
we're
harder
gonna
to
buy
buy.
it in the next 5 or 10 years with the price they're talking about.
What we
So
could
don't even
do,
act
but
like
what
we
we
can afford
could
that ball field,
do,
because
let
we
me
can't.
finish this. What we
We
could
cannot
do with
afford that ball field.
$75,000 is build a new playground every day in one of these neighborhoods every year.
All right,
Please,
all right.
Well-
If we pull out, listen, if we pull out $25,000 for DDRA, which funds our events downtown.
It's still
And you
just,
pull out what the Pilot Club and Chamber, which are the main three that pull our events, okay? That totals altogether about $47,000. So I make a motion that we pull out the 25 and include the 25, let's say 25, 35, we cap it at $60,000, which would be $35,000 for them to spend, and then $25,000, that gives us a total of $75,000. That still gives the committee extra money to spend on whoever else that walks in the door. Because the other ones that came in and asked for money may not come in, and they may come in and ask for money, but that doesn't mean that the chamber, the committee has to give it.
do you,
So I make a suggestion of 60,000.
okay, I'm with you, but I want you in the line that you're saying there, Mayor, that when we advertise, and like he's saying, you got the application out there, you may as well expect more people, because they're thinking the city has opened it up. Those things have come before us, have been traditional, they always do.
Well, maybe
You know, so that's all I'm saying, you gotta be prepared for this. We done put in a policy now that says that we opening it up to people around, and you got it on the, the website, you got it in the paper, so when they read that and say, oh, we can apply for money, whether they make the decision or not, you gonna get more than what we have.
Of
But
course.
just because we get the request for it doesn't mean we have to go forward.
I know it, but that's the grants committee, and those people that you understand now, that they will be looking at that. You don't know you don't know, they may be the connection, they may even tell somebody, oh, we gotta just apply, and we'll see. You don't know all these things. All I'm saying is that we have set up a policy that will increase the application for requests for monies that we have been doing. Just keep that in mind.
That's all fine, but when it comes to the
That's
hospitality, when it comes to the hospitality
And you-
fund, those dollars
We
can
never
only
should
be
have
used
done
for
that
tourist-related
if we-
activities.
And the committee
And just
does make
because
this-
we've given it to everyone in the past is not the reason to give it to them in the future. We have to start getting very
We should have
fiscally
never done that
smart.
committee.
No, the committee is to divide up.
We can do things differently next year if we need to, but I'm gonna make a motion that we set aside $60,000 out of the hospitality funds,
Sound good to me.
that we give the grants committee $35,000 to operate with, and that out of the 60 that we set aside, we earmark 25,000 of it to go to DDRA.
I'll second it.
Mr. Nelson,
I'm good.
Mr. Backus,
Sound good.
Ms. Reed.
Gonna be trying to count,
Motion carried.
trying to gain things, that's all I want. We got there. Give us
So
something
next year I got
out.
the 35,000 for the committee, 25 for DDRA.
But anyway, $60,000 is what they're working with.
$25,000 is earmarked for DDRA.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, Carnegie Library lease to county has
Yes,
been
sir.
tabled, correct?
No, sir, that's the other, that's the courthouse water line, we'll get to that in a moment. The county has approached me, the county administrators approached me, and they are asking the city to allow them to enter into a lease with us for the Carnegie Library for a term of up to 5 years for the sole purpose of storing artifacts and documents from the historical museum.
I'm fine with that as long as we just take out in section number 3, we just need to take out the automatic renew for up to two successive 60-month periods. And we're talking about 10 years, it's a little different than, 5 years. I was under interpretation it's 2 years. If they needed 4 or 5, won't be enough. If they want to come back to it,
They can come back to that.
there should be no problem. Also, when it comes to the maintenance of the building, when they take over the lease, are we still in charge of the maintenance?
Now, if anything that they need to construct, to handle whatever it is that they're gonna put in there, they'll handle it.
I read that.
They'll handle that.
So
We'll take care of our normal maintenance, and then anything that is related to, any of their artifacts or documents or what have you,
They go control the heating and air, or?
they're gonna take care of that, yes.
How much are we
We're
charging?
basically the lease, or
$5.
as a normal leaser, we're pretty much responsible for the structure of the building and the roof.
Yes, sir. We're still the owner.
No. If we're in charge of the maintenance for them, and they're wearing and tearing, it's $5 appropriate?
They're not wearing and tearing. No, as an owner of the building, as an owner of the building, I'm not gonna wear and tear the only thing that we're responsible for is the outside structure of it and the roof. As a normal lease. Normally a lease, I would be responsible for the AC unit or whatever, but.
Lisa, will you remind me, for the streetscape grant, what did the county do for us for the library?
So the county, is paving that parking lot. As part of their bigger project, and they are giving us that money to match the grant, to do the awnings and painting the back of the buildings.
So basically, they gave us the ability to get that streetscape grant, so we're getting a parking lot paid for $5.
The building needs some air breathed into it.
And we just put a new roof on it, within the last 2 or 3 years, so we shouldn't have to put a new roof on it again for a while.
Well, it has some use, so it keeps it from running down so much, and
Sir?
it'll have use, and we're keeping it from running down.
Oh, yeah, and they won't have people going in and out, there are no ADA concerns. We can still use it, we're just not gonna bother their storage.
Okay.
And they maintain the
Sure.
insurance, right?
AC. That's still ours.
We'll probably have to have a fire.
Yeah.
Fire
Lisa,
policy.
does the AC still work, the HVAC system?
It is not appropriately sized for that property.
Will that be our responsibility?
Yeah, it's still our building.
No.
I mean, we don't have to go in and put new air conditioner in for them.
No, it's just, at some point, it's gonna need to be replaced.
But if they're using it and it
All
fails,
they doing is storing files, right?
yeah, they have to have a
Yeah,
temperature
but
control.
they have to have
They do
temperature
it.
control for files to get moisture.
I'm asking you, is that all
I
they
would
do?
think they would keep it, I think, I would
Right?
think
That's
so.
what you said, Lisa? That's all they do is storing files?
County council member told me that they're storing the stuff that they're gonna put into the museum. So that could be files, that could be artifacts.
Correct.
So it can't get too hot or too cold, I would think.
When we discussed previously changing using the Carnegie Library building as the museum before they got their $4 million grant, that was our original, one of the original plans. And it does need to have a new HVAC system to be temperature and moisture controlled if they're going to put museum quality items in.
I mean, that could be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I wouldn't think they're expecting us to drop hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Can you ask that question?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we just need to ask them if we have to replace the AC, will they, meet us 50/50 on the cost of it?
I can ask.
Is that something council's fair with? They're gonna be using it.
I mean, in order to maintain the the interior of the building, the integrity of it. If they're gonna put stuff in there for the museum, I think if it has to be done, it's gotta be, but I would find out how far they're willing to go, should that come up. So that we're not out of pocket everything, but, because we have no idea what AC
Yeah.
would cost for that.
And I don't need to charge,
I can look it up. We've gotten prices before, but it needs to be a completely new system. What was put there was a HVAC unit that was left over.
Well,
Spare.
I think, I'll speak for myself, but I think we're all comfortable letting them use the facility, we're all comfortable using it at $5, just don't wanna have cost over, you know, exorbitant cost because of it.
I got a couple of questions. Number 4 says surrender of the premises. And if they're responsible for keeping the premises in good order and repair, except the portions thereof to be repaired by a lessor. And I have no idea as to what that language means, what they're looking at us to repair. If it's just boilerplate language,
Yep.
I'd like to get it out of there. Also, item 5B.
So you wanna delete 4?
Well, I don't mind, you know, I want them to keep it in good repair, but I don't know what they mean by except the portions thereof to be repaired by lessor as provided for herein. So I just don't like that particular language because it indicates that we've got something that we've got to take care of. And
Well, we do,
I'll cover
don't
some
we?
more of that in a minute in a different section. But the 5 talking about rent, you know, under 5B, item II, they say the premises will be used exclusively by lessees, so we don't actually have any right to use the premises with them as this lease is written at this time. So if they're using a portion and we wanted to use a portion, or, you know, there's nothing in here that guarantees that we have any access to the building because they are getting exclusive.
Any changes y'all would like to
I
make to
wouldn't
this?
think the city would want to have any access to going into all that stuff.
You know,
Be
if we
responsible
do, we
for it.
do, if we don't, we don't. We
I was
just
just, I
have
don't think we want, my suggestion would be to take that out, and we don't want access to it.
Besides just making sure that they're keeping it square and there's no leaks and stuff.
Number 7 talks about repairs and it says that we got no duty to make any repairs or improvements to the premises except structural repairs necessary for safety and tenability. And I just don't know whether or not, you know, are there any structural repairs that they think are necessary for safety and tenability?
I don't think that they know. They haven't indicated anything to me.
Well, I want us to know whether we go have some structural, what they consider to be necessary for us to repair before they take.
They have not indicated anything to me.
They're not,
Well, if they're not thinking there are any, then if they can let us take that out, it would be nice to take it out.
So which one was that again?
7, where it starts.
I'm looking at it, but, okay.
Line 2, where it starts at 7.
Why wouldn't we not be responsible?
county would maintain the AC at the current capacity.
So premises, except structural repairs necessary for safety and tenability purposes and such other repairs as are specifically provided herein. Just take out that.
I'd like to.
Joe,
Yes, sir.
the county would maintain the AC at the current capacity.
Yes, sir. I think, I mean, this is their first shot, if you will. They need a place to store this, and I believe they're willing to work with us. They're just trying to get a feel for what council.
Yeah, I don't think that they're asking us to go in there and nobody has a problem. We just want to make sure they don't, again, these people, we're just trying to cover ourselves that, in a council now, this will change later down the road for 5 years. When the next council come in and say, oh, you gotta go do all such and such. I think council now just want to come in and use it as a storage place, just put that in legal terms, so then like, we're good.
Yeah, we wanna keep it good, so we
We
don't
cover
have
the
to
next,
be
we cover the next group of people that come in.
Anything else?
Yeah,
That's why I sent it to a lawyer.
they've got rights and remedies.
What number?
Number 16.